Chapter 855. This song, The Rainy Season When I Was 17, was specially written by Lu Qin for the Little Tiger's first concert tonight. This song was full of youthful energy, but it also contained memories of his youth. The lyrics were simple, and the beautiful melody contained a touch of sadness, as well as the sour and bitter feelings of first love. The age of 17 or 18 was the best period of life. It was the time when one had just bid farewell to childishness and innocence, and was full of longing for the future. Hazy feelings began to sprout. Perhaps it was childish, perhaps it was hot-blooded, or perhaps it did not know what true love was. But when everyone recalled this period of time, most people would smile from the bottom of their hearts. Singing this song, Lu Qin also recalled his 17 years old. At that time, he had already tasted the taste of his first love. He thought that this feeling would last forever, but it turned into a bubble amidst the quarrel. Now that he recalled it, there was regret and sadness, and these regrets and sadness were all integrated into the song. The rainy season when I was 17, we have the same expectations, and we used to hug each other tightly. The rainy season when I was 17, recalling bits and pieces of my childhood, but I found that I was getting closer to maturity. When the same melody sounded again, the harmony of the three members of the Little Tiger group became the main voice, and the spotlight that fell on Lu Qin shifted to them. This was an obvious metaphor, representing the inheritance of new and old. Of course, Lu Qin was definitely not the old, but he was the recognized mentor of the Little Tigers. This song, The Rainy Season When I Was 17, was first sung by Lu Qin, but in the end, it was given to the Little Tigers. After the song was finished, the audience burst into thunderous applause. Countless fans jumped up in excitement, waved the glow sticks in their hands, and shouted at the top of their lungs, calling the names of Lu Qin and the three members of the Little Tigers. Thank you. Lu Qin bowed to the audience to express his gratitude, and then prepared to leave the stage. But at this time, Zhang Juanji suddenly rushed over, opened his arms, and hugged Lu Qin tightly. Lu Qin was stunned for a moment before he smiled and patted him on the shoulder. In the end, Hui Ran and Yu Yang also rushed over. The three of them surrounded Lu Qin. This was not the script of tonight's concert, but their admiration and worship for Lu Qin from the bottom of their hearts, as well as deep gratitude. Without Lu Qin, there would be no tiger cubs. Without Lu Qin, they would not have such a brilliant life. That was why the three of them made such a move. Although it was a little impulsive, it was exactly the feelings that teenagers should have. Encore! Encore! The audience quickly came to their senses and shouted the slogan of singing one more song in unison. In an instant, the atmosphere of the audience was pushed to the peak, turning the workers' stadium into a sea of noise. As the saying goes, it's hard to refuse such hospitality. Lu Qin can't disappoint the tens of thousands of audience at the scene, so he teamed up with the Little Tiger Regiment again and sang the song, The Stars Are Still Bright, together. This was a new single released by the Little Tigers, also written by Lu Qin. When the song, The Stars Are Still Shining, the sincerity is still the same, only with tears and sweat can we wash away the sorrow and joy of separation, was heard, the audience immediately entered into chorus mode. Even though many years had passed, and the youthful boys and girls were now middle-aged and elderly, and their sideburns were tinged with silver frost, they still firmly remembered the scene at the Beijing Workers' Stadium tonight. Even though the audience was still shouting encore. However, Lu Qin still chose to leave and gave the stage to the Tiger Cubs, because the latter were the real stars of the night. Lu Qin, thank you. As soon as he returned backstage, Sisterly, who had been waiting there for a long time, gave Lu Qin a strong hug. Lu Qin smiled and said, Sisterly, there's no need to be so polite with me. Sisterly was the one who invited Lu Qin to the Tiger Cubs concert tonight. Sisterly was one of Qin Fei's best friends, and also his friend. In addition to their personal friendship, Sisterly was also the manager of the Chin Fei Charity Fund. It was because of her conscientious work that the Chin Fei Charity Fund developed smoothly, so that the donated money could really be used for those who needed help. Currently, in the country, the Chin Fei Charity Fund's reputation had always been maintained at the top level, which was inseparable from Sister Lee's serious and hard work. Moreover, she only received a nominal salary from the fund. Sisterly wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes and said, "Then I won't say anything more. I'll send you back." Lu Chen shook his head. "Don't bother, I can go back myself." He knew very well how much effort Sisterly had put in for her only son, and how much hope she had put into him. Today, seeing Zhang Juanji standing confidently on the stage and singing loudly, he believed that it was a great satisfaction and happiness for her. How could Lu Chen let her send him back at this time? After saying goodbye to Sisterly, Lu Chen left the workers' sports complex and returned to his home in Purple Chengyuan. "You're back so soon." Hearing the door open, Chin Fei popped his head out of the study and asked in surprise, "The Tiger Cubs concert is over?" Lu Chen took off his coat and answered, "Not yet. I came back early after I finished singing, so that I wouldn't be surrounded when I left the venue." Chin Fei said with a smile, "I saw your singing video on the internet. Although the Tiger Cubs' first concert was not broadcast live, almost all the tens of thousands of audience members had mobile phones, so it was normal for them to record a few videos and upload them to the internet." Lu Chen smiled. "Those fans are very enthusiastic." Chen Fei rolled her eyes at him and said, "You still have the nerve to say that? Do you know that your blog is about to be blown up by people now?" "What?" Lu Chen couldn't help but be taken aback. "What happened? Did something big happen recently?" "Nothing much, except that the box office of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer exceeded 1.5 billion. But that was not enough to make the blog explode, was it? You will know after reading it." But the result made Lu Chen speechless. His blog was exploding because he was the guest of the Tiger Cubs concert that night, because countless fans were very angry about it. Even Lu Chen's students had held a concert, but he had not held a concert so far, nor had he revealed any information about it. It seemed that he had given up his singing career. Therefore, the resentment of the fans erupted, and they all left messages on his blog. Some complained, and some attacked. Thinking about it, it was time to give them an explanation. Chapter 856. In the 4 years since Lu Chen's debut, he has gone from an unknown part-time bar singer to the most popular film, television, and singing star in the country. The speed of his rise is astonishing. Whether it is music, TV series, or movies, he has achieved a series of dazzling results. He has released 2 record-breaking albums and filmed 3 record-breaking TV series. His first movie earned a box office of 1 billion, and his second movie created a new genre of domestic movies. The box office has exceeded 1.5 billion before it was released. Lu Chen's career development trajectory is very clear. From a singer to a TV series and a movie actor, and now he has even begun to direct his own works. He has climbed to the peak of life step by step. Lu Chen's fans are increasing. Among them, a group of hardcore fans have been following him since his debut and have been giving him full support. Most of these hardcore fans are Lu Chen's fans. Lu Chen's fans are very pure. Their love for Lu Chen stems from Lu Chen's original works one after another. They like Lu Chen's folk songs, Lu Chen's light rock, and Lu Chen's love songs, but these hardcore fans also have complaints about Lu Chen. That is, Lu Chen has not held his own concert so far. They always feel that there is a great flaw in the perfection. It is easy to say that a singer holds a concert, but it is not easy either. Not everyone is qualified to hold a real concert. At least, one needs to have their own fan team and their own works. Lu Chen has participated in several concerts, but either as a guest or as a platter. His live performance of one or two songs on a big stage obviously can't satisfy his fans. With his popularity and works, it is really a bit incredible that he has not held a concert in 4 years. As a result, many fans left messages on Lu Chen's blog, urging Lu Chen to hold a concert. This kind of inquiry began as early as a few years ago, and then there are more and more. Several fans even persisted in asking questions day after day. As long as Lu Chen's blog was updated, there would always be comments from them. When Lu Chen was shooting a movie, he asked when he was going to hold a concert. When Lu Chen was participating in an endorsement event, he asked when he was going to hold a concert. When Lu Chen and Chen Fei were showing off their love, he asked when they were going to hold a concert. Lu Chen had seen these comments on his blog more than once. He also felt very ashamed. It wasn't that he didn't want to hold a concert, but his work schedule had been too full these past few years. Filming TV series and movies took up too much of his time. It was difficult to squeeze out time to hold a concert. Most importantly, he did not want to hold his first concert casually, because music occupied a very special place in his life. He wanted to be worthy of his fans who supported him, and even more so, he wanted to be worthy of himself. In the end, it had been delayed again and again, and now it had finally been delayed. Lu Chen knew that it was time to give his fans an explanation, and now the time was ripe to announce it. Sitting in front of the computer and quietly thinking for a few minutes, Lu Chen opened the blog article editing software and typed out an official statement. During this period, he repeatedly revised it several times and even called Lu Shi to discuss it. At 10:27 p.m. on October 20th, Lu Chen updated his blog. As soon as this blog post of more than 500 words was published, it immediately attracted the attention of countless fans. The number of clicks and reposts in a short period of time almost set a new record for Wave's blog. In this blog post, Lu Chen first thanked all his fans for their support and love for him over the past 4 years. Then, in response to the complaints of his fans, he said that his first solo concert would be held on February 14, 2019, and at the same time, he would conduct a national tour. At present, it was tentatively scheduled in 7 major cities: Beijing, Shanghai, Hangzhou, Shenzhen, Shaoqing, Shanqing, and Hong Kong. Later, it would be adjusted according to the actual situation. But what was certain was that this time, the tickets would not be cancelled, and Chen Fei Media would work with a number of partners to do the best in this national tour as a thank you and feedback to his fans for their consistent support. At the same time, Lu Chen's solo third album would also be officially released on January 1, 2019. 2 heavy news smashed down in a row, and immediately caused a huge wave in the fan circle. This blog post was forwarded to forums, Tieba, QQ groups, and WeChat moments in a very short period of time. The blog comment area once again exploded, and a large number of messages were refreshed every second. Tears are streaming down my face, I've waited for this day. There are still 4 months. I just want to know when the tickets will be pre-sold. It's simply unreasonable, why is there no Jinling? The people of Xinqing express strong protest. The people of Chunqing protest together. The people of Haijiao are speechless. Lu Chen's blog post was to calm the resentment of his fans, but it attracted more complaints. But this was not a bad thing. After all, everyone hoped that his concert could be held at their doorstep. To be continued. Of course, everyone also knew that it was very unrealistic. In fact, now that Lu Chen had confirmed the time for the concert, it was already a great surprise, especially for Lu Chen's fans. Their long-awaited wish was finally satisfied. The only worry was that they might not be able to buy the concert tickets at that time. It was no exaggeration to say that if the tickets for Lu Chen's concert could be pre-sold now, it would be believed that they would be sold out in a few minutes, and there would be no need to worry about sales at all. Because Lu Chen's terrifying popularity was not created by grinding, but by the fans who had been waiting for too long. Once the expectations exploded, it would inevitably produce amazing power. In just a short span of 2 hours, the term Lu Chen's concert was pushed to the top of the hot topics on the homepage of Waves's blog. The number of forwards easily exceeded the million mark, and many people in the industry and celebrities, regardless of whether they knew each other or not, also forwarded it and sent their blessings. Tan Hong, congratulations, leave me 3 tickets. Liao Jia, I want to be the mystery guest, that's for sure. Shifang, finally, this day has come. Although there are still a few months, I'm looking forward to it. Mu Xiaochu, congratulations, brother Lu Chen, don't forget to leave me a ticket. Lin Jijie, even the Little Tigers, who had just finished their concert, were the first to forward the blog, and Lu Chen, teacher Lu Chen, do you need people to do chores for your concert? Everyone's attention was suddenly focused on the problem of the tickets. Although it was just an announcement, and the specific location and venue had not been confirmed, it was completely foreseeable that the tickets would be in high demand. The official V of Chin Fei Media took over this big problem and said that once the ticket pre-sale was opened, he would inform everyone as soon as possible. In addition, there would be a ticket lottery on the blog. As a result, the number of fans of the official V of Chin Fei Media suddenly skyrocketed. Chapter 857. In the circle, when Lu Chen would hold a concert was a very interesting topic. Everyone knew that he was definitely going to hold a concert, but there was no movement for a long time. He was so happy shooting TV shows and movies that it inevitably made people wonder if he had forgotten this very important thing for a singer, and if he had completely abandoned his identity as a singer and turned to film and television. Many people even felt very regretful, because in the years since Lu Chen's debut, he has become a pillar of the domestic pop music world and brought a new trend of pop music. How lonely the pop music world would be without Lu Chen. And it turned out that Lu Chen had not forgotten that he owed all his loyal fans a concert. He still loved the music career and would release his 3rd album. The new album that countless fans had been looking forward to for a long time. A new album and the first national tour. Did it mean that Lu Chen would fully return to the pop music world? Many people inside and outside the circle were eager to know the answer. The phones of Lu Shi and Lu Chen's assistant were blown up by media reporters, but they couldn't interview Lu Chen at all, because Lu Chen had gone abroad. After 7 hours and 15 minutes of flight K5789 from Beijing landed steadily on the runway of Malé International Airport in the Maldives. The full name of the Maldives was the Republic of the Maldives. It was located in South Asia, an island country in the Indian Ocean and the world's largest coral island country. It was composed of more than 1,200 small coral islands, 202 of which were inhabited. From a bird's eye view, it looked like a string of pearls scattered in the Indian Ocean. With a total area of 300 square kilometers, it was the smallest country in Asia. The Maldives was also a paradise for tourists and vacationers. The day after attending the Little Tigers concert in Beijing, Lu Chen left Beijing with Chin Fei and flew to the Maldives. The two would spend a sweet 7-day vacation in this beautiful island country. This vacation was not a spur-of-the-moment idea. It had been arranged a long time ago. From next month onwards, the two of them would be busy with work again. They would not have any free time until next June. The other 2 movies of the smiling, proud wanderer had to be finished. Chen Fei was going to hold a concert. Now, Lu Chen was going to hold a concert and release a new album. In addition, there were all kinds of endorsements and invitations to programs. Even during the Chinese New Year, she couldn't rest. Therefore, before his busy work started, he wanted to go out and have some fun. Malé was the capital of the Maldives, with an area of only 1.5 square kilometers, which was even smaller than some universities in the country. The population of 150,000 accounted for more than 40% of the country's population. Due to its small size, Malés International Airport was not on the main island, but on Coral Lake Island not far away. When they got off the plane, they had already been arranged to receive them. Then, the two of them boarded a beautiful white seaplane and flew to their real destination. After a very short flight, a unique island appeared in his line of sight. Lu Qin said to Chen Feier, "This is Paradise Island. Let's go to the island in 2 days." Looking down at this pearl on the Indian Ocean from the air, it was completely different from what he saw in the movies. The natural beauty and magnificence were really dazzling. Paradise Island was one of the most famous tourist islands in the Maldives. There were many holiday villas on the island, and all kinds of entertainment facilities were very complete. It attracted a lot of tourists every year. Chen Feier raised her camera and took a few pictures of Paradise Island. This time, when she came to the Maldives for vacation, she specially bought the latest DSLR camera and prepared to record all the beautiful scenery of the island. Just like Lu Qin, Chen Feier was also in the Maldives for the first time. However, their destination today was not Paradise Island. The plane turned to the southwest and continued flying for a while. Another small island covered with coconut trees and surrounded by white beaches appeared. The seaplane did not land immediately. Instead, it circled around the island twice. Ha! Chen Feier had a surprising discovery. This island looks like a heart. It's so special. Lu Qin smiled. Do you like it? Yes. Chen Feier pressed the shutter of the camera and took dozens of pictures. She nodded her head and said with satisfaction, "It's so beautiful." The plane slowly landed on the pier of the island. After getting off the seaplane, there was an open beach in front of them. The white sand, the coconut trees, and the blue sea formed a picture that could be used as a computer wallpaper. A small yacht was docked on both sides of the pier. The distance between Males Airport and Paradise Island was only 10 kilometers, and this small island was only a few kilometers away from Paradise Island. They were very close to each other across the sea. A trail extended from the pier to the manor villa in the coconut forest. Other than the service staff who came to greet them, there were no other tourists. Chen Feier asked curiously, "Did you rent this island? What's its name?" Lu Qin gently pulled her into his arms and said, "I bought it. Its name is Angel." Chen Feier was completely dumbfounded. This trip to the Maldives was arranged by Lu Qin. She only knew that they were here for a vacation, but she never dreamed that Lu Qin actually bought an island. You're not kidding, right?" Lu Qin kissed her on the cheek and smiled. "Of course not. I bought it for you. It's a gift for our 3rd anniversary." Chen Feier's eyes instantly turned red. No woman could refuse such a gift of love. She was no exception. She didn't care that there were other people beside them. She hugged Lu Qin and kissed him passionately. She thought it was just a relaxing vacation, but it turned out to be a great surprise. Under the sea breeze, the two kissed for a long time before they reluctantly separated. Chen Feier's pretty face was flushed, and her eyes were so charming that water was about to drip out. Lu Qin took her hand and walked all the way to the villa. At the same time, he introduced the origin of the island to her. This Angel Island was not formed naturally. It was originally a very small island reef. Later, it was filled and expanded into the current scale pattern. It had an area of about 12 acres, with hundreds of meters of beach around the island, large vacation villas, cruise ship docks, and so on. It was also equipped with power generation and seawater desalination systems. Its original owner was a French businessman. He sold it because of the need for business funds. Lu Qin only learned about such an island for sale when he was chatting with Li Mubai. The latter had traveled around the world in recent years and had come to the Maldives more than once. Lu Qin also spent $27 million to buy this island through him. The price was not cheap, and the future maintenance was also very high, but it was nothing for Lu Qin. The hard-earned money naturally had to be spent. as long as the person he loved liked it. Chapter 858. Hand in hand, Lu Chen and Chen Fei walked on the path paved with colorful pebbles. They walked past the tropical flower garden and came to the main building of the manor. This man-made island didn't have a long history, but the previous owner undoubtedly spent a lot of effort to transform it. It was surrounded by coconut trees, and although the white European-style villa didn't have the heaviness of 100 years of accumulation, it still didn't lose its grand layout, and even more so had a modern and fashionable style. There was a gardener trimming the lawn in the garden. When he saw the two of them, he saluted respectfully. Angel Island was very small. Although it was very close to Paradise Island, daily maintenance was essential. There were more than a dozen people in charge of maintenance, such as chefs, gardeners, repairmen, and handymen. Most of them were natives of the Maldives, and they were managed by an English butler. When Lu Chen bought Angel Island, he also took in these maintenance and management personnel. Basically, they could speak English, so simple communication was not a problem. Far away from the mainland, and without the harassment of tourists, this island in the depths of the ocean was like a paradise. Especially for celebrities like Lu Chen and Chen Fei, it could be called a paradise of freedom. Of course, it was not completely free of harassment. For example, at this moment, a certain someone was standing at the entrance of the villa, wearing a checkered shirt, beach shorts, and had a beautiful young woman in his arms, grinning mischievously. "Brother Chin, you are finally here." He shouted loudly, let go of the beautiful woman, and rushed over in an exaggerated tone, "Fei, long time no see. You are getting more and more beautiful. Hug me." This guy actually opened his arms and hugged Chen Fei, who had a surprised look on her face. Bang! Lu Chen was quick-witted. He slapped the other party on the chest and pushed him away. "Get lost." The guy was Li Mubai. He contacted the French businessman and bought Angel Island. Then, this guy came here to enjoy himself in the name of inspecting the goods. Of course, Lu Chen did not have any objections. After he bought the island, he would not only use it as a vacation for himself and Chen Fei. In the future, his family and friends could come over to play. Anyway, the villa was big enough to accommodate dozens of people. I have internal injuries." Li Mubai took 2 steps back and covered his chest with a bitter expression on his face. "Chen Gu, I can't believe you would hit your own brother so hard for her." Lu Chen wanted to kick him again. "You read too many novels." Li Mubai chuckled and said to Chen Fei, who was covering her mouth to take credit, "Sister-in-law, are you happy with the gift Chen Gu gave you? Are you satisfied? I've contributed a lot to this." Chen Fei smiled and said, "Yes, I'm very happy and satisfied. Thank you." On the way here, Lu Chen told her that without Li Mubai's help, they could still buy it, but it would be more troublesome, and the price would be more than $27 million. Li Mubai represented the Li family. The Li family also had power and connections overseas, which was very useful in such a transaction. "We are family, don't be so polite." Li Mubai reached out and pulled the woman over, saying, "Sister-in-law, this is Xiaorui. She just graduated from college this year and wants to develop in the film and television industry. Please take care of her in the future." The woman was in her early 20s. She was petite and beautiful. Big eyes and an oval face. When she saw Lu Chen and Chen Fei, she was surprised and a little scared. "Sister-in-law, nice to meet you, sister-in-law. My name is Zhang Xiaorui, please take care of me." The couple Lu Chen and Chen Fei were too famous. For people like Zhang Xiaorui who intended to work in the entertainment industry, they were an existence that needed to be worshipped. Now that she had met them in person through Li Mubai's introduction, and she could even be taken care of, her mood could be imagined. "Just call me Sister Fei." Chen Fei smiled gently and asked Li Mubai curiously, "Since you want to enter the film and television industry, why did you look for me instead of your Chingu? He is much more capable than me now. Chen Fei was not being modest. What he said was completely true. In today's domestic film and television industry, Lu Qin had set up a very eye-catching flag, and had become the object of countless people's admiration. As long as he made a move, it would be a simple thing to make Zhang Xiaorui famous. Li Mubai coughed awkwardly and said, I'm afraid that my sister. I'm going to Paradise Island with Xiaorui. I won't disturb Chen Gu and sister-in-law anymore. Talk to you later. After that, he hurriedly pulled Zhang Xiaorui away and took a speedboat to the nearby Paradise Island. Paradise Island was a tourist attraction. There were many tourists all year round. It was very close to Angel Island. If one felt lonely living here, they could go there to play. Not only there were luxury hotels, shopping malls, water parks, casinos, bars, and other recreational places. There were many fun places there. Lu Qin looked at Li Mubai's figure as he left, and he couldn't help but shake his head. This guy. Chen Fei hesitated for a moment, but he still asked, he changed his girlfriend again. Lu Qin nodded. The last time he and Chen Fei saw Li Mubai, it was not Zhang Xiaorui beside this guy, but another beautiful girl. Speaking of which, when Lu Qin first met Li Mubai, the other party was a relatively pure second generation. Lu Qin also wrote a poem for him to help him chase his girlfriend. He did chase her, but later the two separated again. Li Mubai even suffered from emotional pain because of this, and his life became a lot more dissolute. He changed several girlfriends, but they were basically just for fun. Zhang Xiaorui was the same. Li Mushi was half angry about this, but there was nothing he could do. Putting aside his identity as a child of the Li family, Li Mubai had shares in the crowdfunding website. After it was listed on Nasdaq, the value was enough for him to eat, drink and play for a lifetime. Forget about him. Lu Qin reached out and put his arm around Chen Fei's waist and said, you must be tired after flying for so long, right? Let's go rest first, and then take a good look at this island that belongs to you. Chen Fei glanced at him coquettishly, and her eyes were full of endless amorous feelings. The next night, Chen Fei's blog was updated, and in the new blog post, several photos of her and Lu Qin walking hand in hand on the beach were released. The accompanying text was very simple, just 4 words, thousands of miles away. Although they were all selfies, there was not much photography skill to speak of, and there was no PS modification. However, the background was matched with the beautiful scenery of Angel Island, so each photo was very colorful, and at the same time, it was a fierce show of love. Immediately, fans left a comment, showing off dog food thousands of miles away. Chapter 859. Since the relationship between Lu Qin and Chen Fei was officially announced, the two were undoubtedly the best couple in the entertainment circle in the eyes of their fans, and they gradually got used to Chen Fei showing off their love on the blog from time to time. For the fans, they hoped that this beautiful love could last forever and bear fruit. Therefore, in addition to the daily whining of the single dogs, most of them sent their blessings, likes, and envy. Among them were Chen Fei's friends in the circle. Several female stars were curious about the place where the photo was taken and left messages to ask. Then Chen Fei released another photo, a bird's eye view of Angel Island that she took in the seaplane. Chen Fei's photography skills were very average, and she used a mobile phone. The colors and composition of the photo were not good, but the blue sea surrounded the heart-shaped green island with white edges was enough to make people intoxicated. Of course, just one photo was not enough to make people too surprised. After all, there were many beautiful sceneries in the world. Celebrities would certainly choose scenic spots when they went on vacation. The heart-shaped island was very special, but it was not unique. What really shocked people was the content marked under the photo by Chen Fei. This island in the Maldives turned out to be a gift from Lu Qin to her, a gift for the 3rd anniversary of their relationship. This instantly blinded the eyes of countless people. I know that the two of you love each other very much, but isn't it too exaggerated to buy a small island in a holiday paradise as a gift for the anniversary of their relationship? There were many couples in the entertainment circle. Many gave their girlfriends a diamond ring and a sports car on their birthdays, and it was common for them to give their girlfriends a villa when they got married. But to give an island worth tens of millions of dollars, it was really beyond the imagination of most people. Therefore, there was no accident that it caused a sensation in the Waves blog. Not only did it quickly occupy the hot list of the blog's homepage, but it was also forwarded by many media and put on the entertainment headlines. Then soon there were people with great powers who dug out the origin of Angel Island, and according to the relevant information, it was estimated that the value of the island was about $30 million. $30 million, that was $200 million. The fans naturally cheered loudly, and the female stars in the industry were all envious, jealous, and hateful. It was inevitable that some people would say some sour words. Some people even felt very uncomfortable and posted that there were so many poor people in the world now, and many poor children needed help. Lu Chen actually spent $200 million on gifts. Why didn't he use the money for charity? There were many controversies when people were popular, especially top stars like Lu Chen and Chen Feier. Their every move was watched. Many people stared at them with magnifying glasses, looking for trouble. This weird comment was a columnist, who had published several books and had hundreds of thousands of fans on the blog. Most of his blog of Waves of the blog was a little famous. Most of his articles were comments on hot events, with a cynical style. He stood at the height of morality and accused Lu Chen, which aroused the resonance of many people. Coupled with the uproar of some people who were watching the fun, there were tens of thousands of forwards. In the end, it was like poking a hornet's nest. Countless fans who were infuriated by his comments flooded the comments section and scolded the columnist. The fans were not irrational. Last year alone, Lu Chen and Chen Feier donated a total of $350 million to the Chen Fei Charity Foundation, and the money was used to help poor sick children, especially children with leukemia. According to the announcement released by the Chen Fei Charity Foundation, as many as 3,000 poor sick children were helped by the foundation in 2017. All charity projects had public account information, and it was possible to trace the identity of each person being helped. It was truly open and transparent. Most importantly, Lu Chen's money was not obtained by swindling and cheating. He earned it with his own talent and ability. What's wrong with spending 200 million yuan to give gifts in an open and above-board way? This columnist was used to standing on the height of morality to criticize others, and he also had the idea of riding on the popularity. However, he did not expect the counterattack of Lu Chen's fans to be so fierce, and he was immediately overwhelmed. He deleted a large number of comments and pulled black people, while accusing Lu Chen's fans of being internet mobs. Very soon, someone exposed the scandal he had done, saying that he had donated money to poor children on a show last year, but in fact, he did not spend any money at all. Even the books he donated were unsaleable books that he had accumulated in his inventory, and these books were not suitable for children at all. The informant also listed the evidence and skinned him clean, attracting countless netizens to watch. As a result, the so-called author's reputation was instantly tarnished. He had no choice but to close his blog and play dead. Spending $27 million to coax his girlfriend. Lu Chen was woken up by the ringing of his mobile phone in the morning. When he picked up the phone, he heard Li Mushi calling from Beijing. She said in a sour tone, "It's really a big deal. The richest man in Lu, when will you help this little girl?" Last year, Lu Chen ranked first in the entertainment circle, so sometimes his friends joked with him and called him the richest man in Lu. Of course, compared with the real richest man, his wealth was still far from it. Li Mushi's teasing made Lu Chen not know whether to laugh or cry, Sister Mushy, do you still need my help? I'm very poor now. Lee Mushy said angrily, it's all because of you, that bike sharing thing. I have to invest most of my money into it. I can't even buy a bag that's too expensive. How can it be compared to you throwing a few $100 million? She said gloatingly, and I was scolded. Lu Chen was speechless. Sister Mushy, are you scolding me this early in the morning? He saw the debate on the blog, and Chen Fei regretted taking the initiative to burst it out. She was blinded by love and just wanted the world to see her happiness. I'm helping you. Lee Mushy said, the guy who was chattering on the blog was beaten by me. Shouldn't you thank me? Lu Chen suddenly realized that no wonder someone came out so quickly to expose the columnist. It was Lee Mushy. Well, I owe you a favor. Lee Mushy said with a smile, that's right. Leave a few rooms in your island villa for me. I'll bring a few friends over to play when I'm free. My room must be exclusive. I can't let others live in it. Also, tell this guy Mubai not to think that he'll be fine if he doesn't answer my call. Tell him to get back to Beijing immediately, or he'll be in trouble. What else could Lu Chen say? Of course, he could only agree to it all. Leaving a room was a small matter. As for Li Mubai, he had to let his family take good care of him. Chapter 860. Is that Musher? Lu Chen had just put down the phone when he heard Chen Fei's voice. She rubbed her sleepy eyes and asked in a daze, what's the matter? Lu Chen smiled and lowered his head to kiss her on the cheek. He said, it's nothing serious. I just came here to extort money, and I was forced to leave a room here. Chen Fei was a lot more awake now. She opened her eyes wide and asked, how did you owe her? She suddenly understood, is it because of the comments on the internet? Any media company or entertainment agency has a public relations media channel. Once there is negative news, the most important thing is to eliminate the impact in time. Chen Fei Media is no exception. Chen Fei Media has not been established for a long time, but it has always done a good job in this regard. The image of both Lu Chen and Chen Fei has been maintained very well. In the entertainment industry, where there is the most right and wrong, it doesn't mean that you can maintain your innocence if you are upright. If you don't have some means and ability, dirty water will be poured on you at any time. Even if the facts are clarified in the end, it will not be perfect again. The reason why Chen Fei Media is doing well, in addition to trying to establish a good relationship with the media, the help and support of the Li family is also indispensable. Anyone who wants to make trouble out of nothing has to think about it first. Therefore, Chen Fei immediately guessed that she was impulsive last night and underestimated the sensitivity of Lu Chen's purchase of the island. As a result, she was caught by others and attacked. Now that she thought about it, she felt a little regretful. It's all in the past. You didn't do anything wrong. Lu Chen felt her annoyance and comforted her with a smile. In fact, it's fine as long as we do things with a clear conscience. We don't have to worry too much about what others think. Otherwise, it will be too tiring to live. Moreover, we are here on vacation this time. The most important thing is to be happy. Chen Fei nodded. Suddenly, Lu Chen's big hand reached into her pajamas. Everywhere it went, it brought with it a familiar heat, making her tremble all over. Haven't you had enough? No, didn't you say we are going to Paradise Island today? Before she could finish her words, her lips were firmly sealed. She weakly struggled a few times before she was lost in Lu Chen's sudden burst of passion. It wasn't until noon that the fierce battle finally ended. Chen Fei's body was as limp as mud. Her pretty face was blushing, and her red eyes were blurred. She leaned in Lu Chen's arms and quietly enjoyed the aftertaste of passion. She was so lazy that she didn't want to move at all. After a while, Chen Fei murmured, I really want to live like this forever, Lu Qin said. If you want, I can accompany you. At this point, he had earned enough money that he wouldn't be able to spend it all in a few lifetimes. His career had also reached its peak, and it wouldn't be a problem for him to complete the rest of his work and retire. In the past, there was no lack of celebrities who suddenly retired at the peak of their career, leaving behind a legend. Chen Fei thought about it seriously, but she still shook her head and said, I'll get tired of it. Let's talk about it in a few years. Lu Qin laughed and patted her hair. He knew that she was still reluctant to give up her career. But no matter what choice Chen Fei made, he would support her unconditionally. Ah! Chen Fei's face suddenly changed. I forgot. I'm not in my safe period. Lu Qin was stunned for a moment, then he laughed and said, Don't worry about it. If we really have a baby, then we'll get married immediately. I'm not marrying you. Chen Fei punched him angrily and said, You only know how to be happy. Lu Qin pressed her under his body again and laughed. Aren't you happy too? Let's do it again. Chen Fei couldn't help but beg for mercy. I was wrong, please let me go. From last night to this morning, she had been tossed and turned. Her body was so soft that she couldn't even lift her body. Lu Qin laughed and said, It's too late. Even if you scream your throat out now, ring ring ring. At this time, the phone on the bedside rang again. Answer the phone. Chen Fei quickly pushed Lu Qin away, took the opportunity to get up and ran to the bathroom. I'm going to take a shower. Lu Qin angrily picked up the mobile phone and answered, Hello? Li Mubai's familiar voice came from the phone, and he laughed. Brother Qin, you haven't gotten up yet? It's noon. Pay attention to your health. Don't work so hard with sister-in-law. Get up quickly. I'll wait for you at Hotel Kara on Paradise Island. I won millions this morning. Lu Qin sneered, You'd better take care of yourself. You're still in the mood to gamble. Sister Mushy just called and asked me to take you back to the capital. Your family has arranged a marriage for you. Be a good groom. What? Li Mubai was so shocked that his voice changed. Brother Qin, don't scare me. Lu Qin snorted, Scare you? If you don't believe me, ask her yourself. After that, he immediately hung up the phone and let Li Mubai worry about him. Who told him to disturb his fun? It's best to scare this guy and run away again. Then no one will disturb the two of them to spend a sweet and wonderful holiday together. That night, Chen Fei updated her blog again. She once again posted more photos of Angel Island. Not only the beautiful island and the beach, but also the interior of the villa. All the photos were taken with a DSLR, and the effect and clarity were very high. At the same time, she also announced that every year, 3 lucky couples will be selected from her and Lu Qin's fans to hold a wedding on Angel Island. All the expenses, including the round-trip tickets, will be covered by Chen Fei Media. As soon as this blog post came out, it immediately caused a new sensation on the blog. The fans of the two were all shocked. They had never seen a star so generous to his fans. To hold a wedding on a private island in the Maldives, it would cost at least hundreds of thousands of yuan. 3 couples added together is not a small amount. To have the opportunity to go to the place shared by Lu Qin and Chen Fei, a real romantic place to complete the most important ceremony in life, it will definitely be a beautiful memory that will never be forgotten. The fans' likes and reposts reached a crazy level in the blink of an eye, and the comments were countless. What a beautiful island villa. I really want to go there once. What about those who are already married? Can they get married again? Begging for girls to get married, the opportunity will not come again. Single dogs said that they have been hurt by 10 million points. Begging to get single next year to participate in the lottery. So happy. The heated discussion of these fans made the original criticism on the internet disappear. Lu Qin and Qin Fei put aside all the work and worries and enjoyed the warm time that belonged to the two of them. Chapter 861. Lu Qin woke up when he heard the sound of waves in the distance. When he opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was the ceiling decorated with plasterboard. The classical European patterns were cleverly pieced together, delicate and elegant. The floor-to-ceiling window connected to the balcony in the bedroom was open. The sea breeze blew through the door and window, bringing the smell and sound of the sea, as well as the warm and bright sunshine. It took Lu Qin a few seconds to remember that he was on vacation with Qin Fei on a small island in the Maldives. He couldn't help but reach out to touch it and found that the other side of the bed was empty. "You're awake." At this time, Qin Fei walked into the bedroom with a silver plate and said with a smile, "Just in time for breakfast. Try my cooking." There was milk, fried eggs, toast, bacon, and so on the plate. The aroma of the hot food was tempting. Lu Qin couldn't help but move his index finger and immediately sat up. He was not in a hurry to wash up. He first ate the breakfast that Qin Fei made. He was satisfied. As soon as he finished eating, Qin Fei thoughtfully gave him a clean hot towel. Lu Qin took it and wiped his mouth. Then he grabbed her and held her in his arms. Qin Fei smiled and said, "Don't be naughty. It's time for you to exercise." Lu Qin held her in his arms and said with a long sigh of relief, "I don't want to move anymore." The past few days on Angel Island were undoubtedly the most enjoyable period of his life. He left all his work and ignored the disturbances of the outside world. He quietly enjoyed the time that belonged to the two of them on this small island far away from the hustle and bustle of the world with his beloved. In the morning, he woke up naturally, or had a morning passion, ate some breakfast, exercised, sat on the balcony and read a few pages of books, or went fishing on the small pier. The morning passed quickly. At noon, he took a nap, got up and went to the beach to bask in the sun or swim. After dinner, he strolled on the island or lit a bonfire to sing and dance. Sometimes he snuggled up to each other and enjoyed the bright Milky Way in the night sky. Unfortunately, the better the time was, the shorter it seemed. They would go back in one day. Although they had the right to be willful, they were not that willful after all. Let's look forward to our next visit. On October 29th, Lu Qin and Qin Fei left Angel Island and flew back to the capital from the Maldives. At the same time, the first song of the Smiling, The Proud Wanderer, Sword of Mount Hua, was officially released in all the cinemas across the country. The total box office was $1,752 billion, and it became the top box office of this year's domestic film. Although there was still 1 month to go, the industry generally estimated that The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer was already the champion, because it was unlikely that the domestic movies released in November and December could break the record. In addition, the peripheral sales of The Smiling, The Proud Swordsman were 265 million yuan, which added up to 2 billion yuan. This did not include the copyright sale of The Smiling, The Proud Swordsman at the Shanghai International Film Festival and the brand authorization. The profits were so high that many people were green with envy. The profit of The Smiling, The Proud Martial World could be calculated. 752 billion in box office meant about 800 million in profit. After deducting the cost of 300 million, there would still be 500 million in net profit. The 265 million could be earned back, almost 200 million from the peripheral sales, 150 million from the copyright sales, and nearly 100 million from the brand licensing. On this movie, Qin Fei Media could calculate that the profit was as high as 1 billion, which was more than 3 times the investment. Because the profits were so high, with The Smiling, The Proud Martial World being released, there was another craze for martial arts movies in the industry. Several film companies had frozen their projects because of the failure of martial arts movies in the summer, but now they were put on the production schedule again. The value of martial arts novels, especially the popular martial arts novels, skyrocketed. The ups and downs made people sigh at how fast the trend changed. Outside the circle, the smiling, the proud swordsman brought a new trend of martial arts. This trend of martial arts should be said to have started when the smiling, the proud martial world was selling like hotcakes in the morning. Later it was hyped up by Young Jianghu, but because of the box office failure of Young Jianghu, it quieted down. Now the smiling, the proud martial world was a great success. Many fans, especially young fans, were aroused to love and yearn for martial arts. The market was very sensitive. Many martial arts schools took the opportunity to advertise. Those that didn't have martial arts before all added the content of martial arts, taking advantage of the popularity of martial arts to recruit students. What's more, some so-called martial arts masters and martial arts grandmasters appeared one after another. In the beginning of November, several popular videos began to circulate on the internet in China. Among them, the most clicked and reposted video was of a Tai Chi master. In the video, this master, who was in his 50s or 60s, demonstrated his martial arts. Under the siege of more than a dozen strong students, he defeated them with a wave of his hand. Whenever those students touched his body, they were bounced back, and some even fell to the ground in a sorry state. With the popularity of martial arts, this video immediately caused a heated discussion among countless netizens. Damn, is this the legendary internal energy? Is there really such a magical martial art? My grandpa also practices Tai Chi, but it's just for fitness. It's so fake. Can you guys practice your acting skills a little more? It can't be fake. Maybe he has real skills. It's a miracle. In addition to the video of this master, the other videos were almost the same. There were performances of breaking stones on one's chest, drilling one's head with an electric drill, splitting bricks with bare hands, running over one's body, and so on. So some fans forwarded the video and tagged Lu Qin on his blog, asking about the authenticity of the video. Lu Qin was the creator of martial arts, and he also made a martial arts film like The Smiling, the Proud Martial World. In the eyes of his fans, he was very authoritative in this aspect. Lu Qin returned to the capital at the end of last month. He stayed there for a day and participated in an endorsement event. After that, he flew to Ningxian to continue the shooting of The Smiling, the Proud Martial World. However, Lu Qin also noticed the recent appearance of these videos on the internet. In response to the fans' inquiries, he straightforwardly replied, "Hard skills can be trained. Nigong is a novelist's word. As for the performance of using real strength to resist people, that is a liar." Because of Lu Qin's influence, all the media reported it with the title, "Lu Qin thinks Tai Chi masters are liars." Soon, there was a lot of controversy on the internet. And several masters who were named were extremely angry. They refuted Lu Qin through their own blogs, saying that Lu Qin ignored the facts and disrespected his predecessors. They even wanted to teach Lu Qin a lesson. Chapter 862. In the 70s and 80s, there was a Qigong craze in the country. At that time, many so-called Qigong masters emerged, all of them claiming to have mastered special abilities. They opened forums to give lectures, widely recruited disciples, and even published books, fooling a large number of people. At that time, under the deception of a certain master, many people thought that they could receive cosmic signals with a fine steel pot on their heads, and then they became immortals, which made a ridiculous farce. Later, under the attack of the country, these masters disappeared. With the arrival of the information age, people's wisdom gradually improved. Although the phenomenon of fraud was not completely eliminated, it did not cause any trouble. When Lu Qin was determined to create a big wuxia IP, he had conducted relevant investigations and consulted a lot of information, so he knew the situation very well. At that time, there were some old-style wuxia films in China and Hong Kong, which were related to this qigong craze. He didn't expect that the new wuxia craze that he had created would also cause some dregs to rise up and change their names to martial arts masters and martial arts grandmasters. Their tricks were not much different from decades ago, but they used the internet as a platform to hype themselves up. For example, the video of Wang Fang, who sent more than a dozen people flying, was widely spread on the internet, and he was found out to be a disciple of a qigong master in those days. Lu Qin could not tolerate this kind of swindler coming out to swindle people openly and smearing a layer of mud on the wuxia culture he advocated. Therefore, he directly denounced the swindler as a swindler on his blog and called on his fans not to be gullible. To this end, Lu Qin opened 2 new blog posts in a row, elaborating his views in detail. First of all, the new wuxia novels such as The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, and The Legend of the Condor Heroes belonged to fantasy literature, which was an artistic story based on traditional history and martial arts. The internal energy and true qi in them were the same as magic and fighting energy in fantasy novels, which were all fictitious. Secondly, Chinese martial arts had a long history, but the situation of inheritance was quite serious. The ancient martial arts skills had been passed down to the present day and had changed a lot. Basically, they mainly focused on strengthening the body. For example, in traditional martial arts, Kung Fu was undoubtedly the quintessence of the country, which was very valuable as a set of martial arts to strengthen the body. But to make internal energy for Kung Fu was not a problem in novels or movies, but it was nonsense in reality. As for Sanda and Lu Chen's own Kung Fu, in fact, they were actual combat skills like kickboxing and boxing. The level and ability were improved through strict training and battles. Any healthy person could learn it, and there was nothing mysterious about it. Therefore, it was a compliment to say that Wang Fang's videos were magic tricks. It was purely acting. The people who were sent flying and fell were all actors, which could not be believed at all. As soon as Lu Chen's blog post came out, he immediately got the support and approval of his fans. Although some water armies were still clamoring in his blog, they couldn't set off any storm. After writing 2 blog posts, Lu Chen no longer paid attention to this matter, because there was no need at all. If he really cared about those people too seriously, it would give the other party a chance to hype up. Kung Fu was divided into 3 parts, namely Sword of Mount Hua, Invincible East, and the Final Battle. They were scheduled to be finished within this year. The Sword of Mount Hua had been released during the National Day and was a great success. Therefore, Lu Chen changed the shooting and production plan of the next 2 parts, and postponed Invincible East, which was originally released during the Spring Festival, to the summer. The reason was actually very simple. Sword of Mount Hua was so successful that the audience's appetite had been raised. If the story and production quality of the second part could not be maintained or exceeded, it would inevitably affect the reputation of the series and the box office of the third part. The reason was actually very simple. It was because Sword of Mount Hua was too successful, and the audience's appetite had already been raised to a very high level. If the second installment's storyline and production quality could not be maintained or surpassed, it would definitely affect the series' reputation and the box office of the third installment. Moreover, several film companies were preparing to shoot Kung Fu movies. The pressure of competition for Invincible East was no less than that of Sword of Mount Hua, if not even greater. Generally speaking, it was very difficult to make a sequel, especially if the first part was very successful. People would naturally compare it, which would be a lot of pressure for the director and the actors. And Invincible East is Lu Chen's first film directed by him. Lu Chen specially invited the famous director Chen Guizhi to direct The Sword of the Proud, Smiling Wanderer, Sword of Mount Hua. He himself was the action director. At the beginning, Chen Guizhi said that he would only direct one movie and would not make a sequel. Lu Chen had also considered inviting other directors to replace Chen Guizhi, but in the end, he chose to direct it himself. In order to become a qualified director, Lu Chen not only squeezed out a lot of time to learn, but also earnestly learned from Chen Guizhi during the shooting of Sword of Mount Hua. Chen Guizhi had always appreciated Lu Chen, and he was very supportive of Lu Chen's ideas, so he gave him a lot of guidance. It could be said that Sword of Mount Hua was completed by the two of them together. Through the training of this blockbuster film, although Lu Chen's directing skills could not be compared with Chen Guizhi's, it was basically no problem for him to finish a commercial film independently. Nevertheless, Lu Chen was not arrogant and conceited. In the process of directing and shooting the new film, he strived for excellence, especially in the design of action scenes. It can be said that he was under great pressure. Under such circumstances, it was completely unrealistic to rush the schedule. Lu Chen did not want to ruin the reputation that he had worked so hard to build up. In order to ensure the quality, he had to make double efforts, so it was necessary to delay the release of Invincible East. On November 15, the crew of the Smiling, Proud Wanderer arrived in Yu Province. Mount Song was the most important shooting location for the second two parts of the Smiling, Proud Wanderer. The crew would film here until the Spring Festival. Mount Song was located in the west of Yu Province, northwest of Dengfeng City, and west of the ancient capital Luoyang. It belonged to the Funyo Mountains, with a total area of about 450 square kilometers. Composed of Mount Taisher and Mount Shaosher, it had a profound cultural heritage. It was the birthplace of Zen Buddhism and the holy land of Taoism. It was the middle mountain of the 5 sacred mountains. This famous mountain had a long history and cultural tradition. Since ancient times, countless literati and poets had left countless articles and poems, as well as many historical relics, which were very suitable for the story background of the Smiling, Proud Wanderer. The two major sects in the Smiling, Proud Wanderer, Shaolin Temple and Mount Song sect were both located in Mount Song. In addition, in order to save time and cost, the exterior of Blackwood Cliff was also completed in Mount Song. Chapter 863. The day the crew of the Smiling, Proud Wanderer arrived in Dengfeng, they were warmly welcomed by the local government. At the reception banquet held by the Tourism Bureau in the evening, the leaders of the Dengfeng government and the heads of many important departments were present. The reception was very high standard. It was not that the government officials were chasing after stars. They were chasing after the god of wealth who could bring benefits to the local area. The first song of the Smiling, Proud Wanderer, Sword Out of Mount Hua had a box office of more than 1 billion in 1 month, which brought a martial arts craze in China. Lu Chen and Chinfei Media were the direct beneficiaries, but there were also related parties who shared a lot of benefits. For example, Ningxian Film and Television City became famous with the help of the Smiling, Proud Wanderer. With the investment of Chinfei Media, the endangered tourism project was full of vitality and vitality. Big fans came from all over the country, and the ticket income soared by dozens of times. It also led to the development of the local tourism industry. Mount Hua was also famous. Compared with Ningxian Scenic Area, the Mount Hua Scenic Area was more famous. The positive influence of the Smiling, Proud Wanderer was not as great as Ningxian, but it was enough to make the local tourism department happy. Now the Sword Out of Mount Hua began to be screened in Southeast Asian countries, which had a greater influence. It was not a fairy tale that a popular movie could drive the tourism of a place. It was a proven business example. It was reasonable that Dengfeng City was enthusiastic about the arrival of the crew of the Smiling, Proud Wanderer. Dengfeng City was a famous historical city. The Xia dynasty built its capital in Dengfeng, which was called Yudiyang City. Because it was located at the southern foot of Mount Song, tourism had always been one of the important pillar industries of Dengfeng City. Although there were famous mountains and ancient temples, the development of tourism in Dengfeng City was not smooth in recent years. Mount Song was not as famous as Mount Tai, Mount Hua, and Mount Huang. It lacked special attractions, so the tourism economy grew very slowly. Since the beginning of the new century, the domestic tourism industry had a blowout development. The number of domestic and foreign tourists increased greatly, especially during holidays. The popular attractions were often crowded, which created a lot of benefits for the local economy. The tourism industry was too big, and there were too many places that wanted a piece of it. Therefore, the competition was very fierce. Nowadays, tourists not only wanted to have fun, but also to have special attractions. In this regard, Dengfeng City's competitiveness was not strong enough. The government had tried to build a new tourism economy several times, but the results were not satisfactory. Therefore, when Qinfei Media took the initiative to contact the relevant departments of Dengfeng City and applied to shoot the smiling, proud wanderer in Mount Song, the local authorities were overjoyed and immediately reported it to the municipal government. The head of the government directly made the decision to cooperate with the production team to the greatest extent and personally attended the reception. Mr. Liu Qin, Miss Qinfei, the mayor of Dengfeng City, was surnamed Liu. He was a handsome middle-aged man with an elegant temperament. He held up his wine glass and said with a smile, "On behalf of the 500,000 people in Dengfeng City, I welcome your arrival. I also hope that the crew of the smiling, proud wanderer can shoot smoothly in Dengfeng City and bring the scenery of Mount Song to the whole country." Liu Qin and Qinfei stood up and clinked glasses with him. Liu Qin smiled and said, "Thank you, Mayor Liu. We will definitely work hard." Although the people of Dengfeng City showed great enthusiasm because they needed help from the crew, Liu Qin did not think that they were spoiled, because friendly cooperation was beneficial to both sides. The crew of the smiling, proud wanderer was shooting in Mount Song, which could bring great benefits to Dengfeng City. The strong cooperation of the local government could also save the crew a lot of trouble and a lot of money. Therefore, Liu Qin maintained enough respect for the mayor of Dengfeng City, which also made the atmosphere of the banquet extraordinarily harmonious and friendly. Mayor Liu drank up the wine in his glass and said, "Our government will fully cooperate with your crew. If you need anything, just tell us. As long as we can solve it, we will not delay or be perfunctory." What he said was not polite, but a real promise. Liu Qin thought for a moment and said, "There is really one thing that needs your support." Mayor Liu was stunned for a moment and then said with a smile, "Okay, let's sit down and talk." After sitting down again, Liu Qin thought about what to say and then said, "Mayor Liu, our crew came to Dengfeng City this time to shoot mainly for 3 scenic spots, one of which is the Shaolin Temple." Mayor Liu nodded and said, "Well, I know the Shaolin Temple. It is an ancient temple with a long history. Is there a problem?" There was a big problem. In Liu Chen's dream world, there were thousands of temples in the world, and the Shaolin Temple was the most famous, to the point that everyone knew it. It was also the most famous tourist card of Dengfeng City, even overshadowing Mount Song itself. But in reality, the Shaolin Temple was not famous at all. In the Mount Song scenic area, it was just a relatively famous jungle. In the whole country, it could not even be ranked second or third. Before coming to Dengfeng City, Liu Qin deliberately asked people to go to the Shaolin Temple to take a lot of photos and videos. As a result, he found that the world-famous temple in the dream world was quite old and even a little dilapidated, lacking adequate repair and construction. This did not match the status of the Shaolin Temple in the novel, The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. At the very least, it should have a decent facade. In reality, the facade of the Shaolin Temple was ordinary, not much different from an ordinary temple. Its status in Dengfeng City could be heard from Mayor Liu's words. Liu Qin briefly explained the problem of shooting, and Mayor Liu suddenly understood. "So that's how it is. Then we can change to another temple. For example, the Songshan Temple is very good. At worst, we can change the temple sign temporarily." The Songshan Temple was the largest jungle in Mount Song, with the famous Songshan Temple Pagoda. It was a national cultural protection unit. The local government allocated a lot of money for maintenance and repair every year, which was much better than the Shaolin Temple in all aspects. Lu Qin also knew about the Songshan Temple. He smiled and said, "Part of the Songshan Temple can be used, but I hope to put more shots in the Shaolin Temple." After a pause, Lu Qin continued, "Qinfei Media is willing to donate 30 million to the Shaolin Temple for the repair and construction of the temple. I only hope that the government can give support and complete the specific work as soon as possible to meet the needs of our shooting." Donating 30 million to the Shaolin Temple for repair and construction, just for the shooting needs. Lu Chen's proposal surprised the officials, including Mayor Lu. Was it necessary? Chapter 864. Dingfeng City has such a grand reception for the crew of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. Of course, they have a lot of understanding of Lu Qin. They know that Qinfei Media has strong strength. The films and TV series produced are all big sellers and have a great influence. They wanted to use this influence to promote the development of local tourism with the help of The Smiling, the Proud Wanderer. But they didn't expect that Lu Qin would donate a huge sum of money to Shaolin Temple. Everyone was stunned. Mayor Lu was not an ordinary person after all. He kept calm and asked, "Mr. Lu Qin, what is the nature of your donation? We can discuss it." In his mind, Lu Qin couldn't take out 30 million for nothing. He said that he needed the support of the government to cooperate with the shooting, but he was just being polite. He had expressed his strong support before. Dingfeng's sincerity was beyond doubt. Lu Qin smiled and said, "That is the nature of the donation. No additional conditions are needed. As long as you agree, 30 million can be transferred to your designated account tomorrow." Lu Qin could understand the mayor's doubts. If it were him, he would also feel that it was unbelievable. But Lu Qin didn't propose to donate 30 million because he had too much money or he was confused. First of all, it was the need of the shooting. He didn't lie about this. Shaolin Temple was obviously not qualified to be the shooting site of the second and third part of The Smiling, the Proud Wanderer. Of course, as Mayor Lu said, it was just a matter of changing the signboard of Songshan Temple. There was no need to go through so much trouble. But Shaolin Temple was Shaolin Temple, which couldn't be replaced by Songshan Temple. And in Lu Chen's wuxia IP plan, this 1,000-year-old temple had a very special position. All the kung fu in the world came from Shaolin. In The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, the Heaven Sword and Dragon Saber, Demigods and Semi-Devils and other wuxia works, Shaolin Temple was the leader of the martial arts world. It couldn't be an old and run-down temple, right? If Lu Qin wanted to promote wuxia culture, he couldn't ignore Shaolin Temple. And Shaolin Temple's historical origin was also very suitable for wuxia culture. It was easy to change the signboard of Shaolin Temple, but the most essential thing would be lost. Therefore, not only can the Shaolin Temple not be touched, but it must also be perfected and become a real hot spot. Now that he had invested 30 million yuan, he could get 10 times or even 100 times the return in the future. The most direct benefit was this cause and effect. In the future, it would be simple and easy to shoot in the Shaolin Temple. The local government would get substantial benefits and would also strongly support and cooperate. The officials, including Mayor Lu, finally realized that Lu Qin was not joking. He was really going to take out real money, and he was definitely not drunk. This was because Qinfei, Lu Shi, and the others who were sitting next to him didn't show any surprise. Obviously, they already knew about it. Lu Qin added, "There is one thing I must emphasize. This money can only be used in the Shaolin Temple. I hope you can understand." Mayor Lu came to his senses and laughed. "I understand. To be honest, I was a little confused just now, but I believe in the sincerity of your company. Of course, our government will strongly support you." After a pause, he said, "But Mr. Lu Qin, with all due respect, Shaolin Temple is a historical site and also a cultural protection unit of our local area. It has not been well repaired and protected because of the lack of funds in the past, but it is reasonable to not let your company pay for this money." The change of the mayor's words stunned everyone present. Lu Qin and others were naturally puzzled. Did he not want the money that was delivered to his door? Did he want his face more than his money? The subordinate officials were stunned, especially the director of the local tourism bureau, whose face turned red. Even if this money was earmarked for special purposes, it would also be of great benefit to the overall situation of the tourism industry of Dangfeng City. Why did Mayor Lu reject the goodwill of Qinfei Media? He wanted to shout a few times, but he didn't dare to speak. The depression in his heart was really speechless. Mayor Lu smiled and said, "However, we really need the help of external funds, so my suggestion is to follow the Ningxian model and set up a Songshan Shaolin Temple Industrial Development Company, which will be operated by our municipal government, Shaolin Temple, and Qinfei Media. What do you think, Mr. Lu Qin?" Lu Qin didn't expect Mayor Lu to put forward such a suggestion, but he immediately understood the other party's idea and couldn't help but admire him. This great mayor really had a high standard. On the one hand, Dangfeng City could accept the capital investment of Qinfei Media in a righteous and dignified manner, build a new tourist hotspot around the Shaolin Temple, and promote the local tourism industry. On the other hand, it was also to tie Qinfei Media to this chariot, which was conducive to future development. He was following the example of Ningxian. In order to pull the crew of the smiling, proud wanderer over, Ningxian directly gave up the shares of Ningxian Film and Television City to Qinfei Media. Facts proved that this was a win-win cooperation, and it could be called a commercial success. Mayor Lu had obviously studied it before. He even said the words, Ningxian model. However, although he was the mayor of Dangfeng, it was impossible for him to completely imitate Ningxian. Ningxian's Shadow Vision City included the core essence of Ningxian's scenic area. Mount Song Shaolin Temple Industrial Development Company was also limited to Shaolin Temple. If he gave up the shares of Songshan scenic area, it would inevitably be obstructed by vested interests, and Qinfei Media didn't have such a big appetite. Now it was just Shaolin Temple, the local resistance would certainly be gone, and they would give strong support. What was rare was that Mayor Lu's proposal was undoubtedly just thought of by him, and it was not a plan that had been in his mind for a long time. But it was very in line with the actual situation, and it was also a win-win cooperation. At this time, the leaders in charge were suddenly enlightened, and the director of the tourism bureau stared at Lu Qin with burning eyes. They couldn't think of a reason for Lu Qin to refuse. Of course, Lu Qin couldn't refuse. He looked at Lu Shi next to him and said with a smile, "I think it's good, but if you want to invest in the company, 30 million yuan is definitely not enough. We'll talk about the details later." In addition, Lu Qin turned to Qin Fei and said, "Fei, you tell him." Qin Fei nodded and said softly, "In addition, Lu Qin and I have decided to donate another 20 million yuan in our own names for the construction of the local school in Dangfeng City and financial aid for poor students." Mayor Lu was stunned, and his face became serious. He raised his palm. Soon, warm applause sounded in the box. Chapter 865. As the most popular stars in the domestic entertainment industry, Lu Qin and Qin Fei have a common characteristic, that is, they never put on airs and never think that they are superior to others. Therefore, in the circle, the two have more friends than enemies. Similarly, Qinfei Media, which was co-founded by the two, also continues this style. They act in an upright manner, pay attention to win-win and mutual benefit, and treat their partners sincerely. Just like this time, when they came to climb the peak to shoot, the attitude of the local government was very warm, flattering and polite, but Lu Qin did not think that this was a matter of course, nor would he give birth to arrogance and contempt. Previously, he donated to the Shaolin Temple to show the sincerity of cooperation. Now he made a personal donation, which was also based on the need to establish a good relationship with Deng Feng and lay the most solid foundation for long-term cooperation in the future. Originally, when shooting Sword of Mount Hua, Lu Chen donated 30 million yuan in Ningxian. And his attitude undoubtedly won the praise of all the local officials, including Mayor Lu, who almost patted their chests to promise to support and cooperate with the crew. The next day, Lu Chen and Chen Feier, together with many members of the crew, accompanied by Mayor Lu and several officials, visited the Shaolin Temple of Mount Song. The Shaolin Temple was located at the foot of the Five Breasts Peak of Mount Song in Dangfeng City. Because it was located in the dense jungle of the Shaoshi Mountain in the hinterland of Mount Song, it was named Shaolin Temple. It was built in the 19th year of Taihe of the Northern Wei Dynasty, 495. It was built by Emperor Xiaowen at the northern foot of the Shaoshi Mountain of Mount Song, opposite the capital of Luoyang, in order to settle the Indian monk he admired. This 1,000-year-old temple had been destroyed several times in the war and rebuilt several times. Because it was the ancestral court of the Zen of Han Buddhism, it became a provincial cultural protection unit and was also a scenic spot in the Mount Song scenic area. However, because of the local lack of funds, and the Shaolin Temple was not very famous, the temple that Lu Chen saw with his own eyes could not be compared with the memory in the dream world. The walls of the temple were old and a little dilapidated. It was unknown how long it had been since the paint on the surface of the wall was painted. It was mottled, peeling, and even invaded by moss. The main entrance of the temple was ordinary and did not have the grandeur of a famous temple. On the horizontal board hanging under the eaves of the corridor, the golden characters written by the Qianlong Emperor were dull and bleak. If such a scene was recorded in a movie, the audience would definitely laugh their heads off. The dignified world's #1 sect was acting like this. Who were they trying to fool? In front of the Shaolin Temple, there was a fence for tourists to enter and exit, but there were very few tourists. Basically, they came to burn incense and worship Buddha, and it seemed that the incense was not very strong. After asking around, Lu Chen learned that the first choice for tourists and pilgrims who came to Mount Song to pray to Buddha was the Songshan Temple. The Shaolin Temple only began to collect admission tickets in recent years. The annual income of the Shaolin Temple was about hundreds of thousands. Speaking of this, the local tourism bureau chief was very embarrassed, because they proposed to set up a Shaolin Temple Industrial Development Company, and the Shaolin Temple itself was not a very good asset. Hundreds of thousands of admission fees a year. Lu Chen was a little speechless when he heard this. In the dream world, this 1,000-year-old temple was known as the world's #1 temple, and its reputation spread all over the world. The annual income from admission tickets alone was as high as 300 to 400 million, plus other income. The benefits created were quite amazing. However, the success of the Shaolin Temple in the dream world was not without reason. At first, it was also very bitter. Later, because of the movie Shaolin Temple, it became very popular in the country, and it ushered in a leap of development. In the real world, without this movie, the Shaolin Temple had been silent until now. Lu Chen had a faint feeling that he was creating history, so he did not care about the current predicament that the Shaolin Temple was facing. He came to change. However, although it was dilapidated, there were still real things in the Shaolin Temple, such as the Sutra Depository and the Pagoda Forest, especially the Shaolin Pagoda Forest, which had more than 240 brick and stone tombs from the Tang Dynasty to the Qing Dynasty. The tombs of these Shaolin monks were of different sizes, thicknesses, and forms. At present, the Shaolin Temple was applying to become a national cultural protection unit. In addition, there were also Dharma Cave, Dew Terrace, and other attractions. There were many pine and cypress trees in the temple, many of which were ancient trees that were hundreds or even thousands of years old, so the temple's heritage was quite deep. In addition to these scenery, Shaolin martial arts were also a major feature of the Shaolin Temple. The Shaolin Temple was the ancestral court of Zen Buddhism. Zen Buddhism focused on enlightening one's mind, seeing one's nature, and achieving enlightenment to become Buddha. The monks practiced martial arts to achieve the goal of restraining one's mind and nature, and to stop thinking and meditate. At the same time, it also had the intention of strengthening one's body and prolonging one's life. The Shaolin Temple had always had the habit of raising monk soldiers. The Shaolin Temple's warrior monks were quite famous. Originally, the warrior monks and monk soldiers were to protect the temple from bandits, but now it had become a tourist attraction. The Shaolin Temple's current abbot, Shi Yongda, was a burly middle-aged monk. He was very warm and polite to the arrival of the local officials and Lu Qin. Obviously, he already knew the relevant news. Accompanied by the abbot, Lu Qin and the others visited the Mahavira Hall, the Sutra Depository, the Pagoda Forest, and other places. Finally, they watched the performance of the warrior monks. There were not many Shaolin warrior monks. Only a dozen or so participated in the performance. However, the boxing and stick techniques they performed were quite wonderful. They had some real kung fu, which was not something that could be compared to pure routines. Seeing that Lu Qin was fascinated, Shi Yongda said to him with a smile, "Benefactor Lu, if you choose to make a movie in the Shaolin Temple, all of our Shaolin warrior monks can listen to your instructions and participate in the shooting." The abbot was not an ascetic monk who did not pay attention to the outside world. He knew very well how important this opportunity was to the Shaolin Temple, so he showed a posture of full cooperation. Lu Qin nodded and suddenly asked, "Can I spar with the master of your esteemed temple and learn from each other?" Since they were shooting a movie in the Shaolin Temple, these ready-made warrior monks must be used. However, it was not enough to just watch the performance. He wanted to test their skills. Of course, it was also because of the memory plot in the dream world. Shi Yongda obviously did not expect Lu Qin to make such a request. He hesitated for a moment and couldn't help but look at Mayor Lu. What should he do? For the Shaolin Temple, Lu Qin was definitely a distinguished guest among distinguished guests. Fists and feet had no eyes, and there were risks in a spar. If he was injured, wouldn't he offend someone? And if he went easy on him, would Lu Qin be dissatisfied? The abbot was very conflicted for a moment. The corner of Mayor Lu's mouth twitched, but he did not give him any hint. He was undoubtedly letting him make the decision himself. After hesitating for a moment, Shi Yongda braced himself and said, "It's okay to spar," but Lu Qin knew his scruples and said with a smile, "The sparring will stop here. I know what I'm doing." Since he had said so, Shi Yongda had to agree and arrange for a warrior monk to spar with Lu Qin. Chapter 866. Shaolin Kung Fu had a long history and could be traced back to more than 1,500 years ago. In the last years of the Sui dynasty, 13 Shaolin monks helped Tang Emperor Li Shimin to defeat Wang Shichong, and Shaolin Kung Fu gradually became famous. During the 5 dynasties, the eminent monks of Shaolin Temple invited 18 martial arts masters to perform in the temple. They practiced for 3 years, learning from each other's strong points and keeping the essence. They compiled the Shaolin Fist Manual. It could be said that from the Sui, Tang, Jin, and Yuan dynasties, Shaolin martial arts developed rapidly and gradually matured. Shaolin Temple became famous for its martial arts in the Ming and Qing dynasties, especially during the Jiajing period of the Ming dynasty. More than 80 Shaolin monks, led by Yue Kong and others, bravely went to the battlefield and defeated the enemy. More than 30 monks died for the country and wrote a sad story. On the contrary, in modern times, with the invasion of Western civilization, the Shaolin Temple gradually declined and became silent. Today, its reputation is not prominent, and it has become an ordinary ancient temple scenic spot. However, although the temple had been destroyed by the flames of war several times, the Shaolin martial arts and the legacy of the Shaolin monks had never been cut off. To this day, the Shaolin Temple still retained a team of about 20 monks who practiced diligently every day. The monk chosen by the abbot of Shaolin Temple Shi Yongda to spar with Lu Qin was also a monk of the Tashi generation, Shi Yongjin. He was about 30 years old, tall and sturdy, with a rough appearance, thick eyebrows, big ears, and a pair of bright eyes. The joints on his hands were exceptionally thick, and they were covered with calluses. Obviously, he had been practicing martial arts for many years. What a fierce warrior! Seeing this monk, Lu Qin could not help but marvel in his heart. This trip to Shaolin Temple on Mount Song was really the right choice. Just now, he was worried that Shi Yongda would be reluctant to send out a real master, so the competition would be meaningless. Shi Yongjin raised his palm and bowed to Lu Qin. Shi Yongjin of Shaolin Temple greets you, benefactor. His voice was deep and rough, and there was an indescribable power in his movements. This kind of martial artist's aura could not be seen or touched, but others could feel it. Mayor Lu, who accompanied Lu Qin, couldn't help but have his face change slightly, and his eyes couldn't help but look at Shi Yongda. This monk looked very powerful. Was it really appropriate for him to compete with Lu Qin? If he were to hurt the honored guest, Shi Yongda gave Mayor Lu a reassuring look. He was very confident in his junior brother's strength. Moreover, only a true master could control and release his strength freely in a competition. In this way, he would not damage Shaolin Temple's reputation, and he could also control the rhythm and not hurt his opponent. Lu Qin cupped his fists in return and said, "Please advise me, master." Ever since the battle with Li Cheol-sung, the founder of the Korean Taekwondo Musung sect, at the beginning of the year, although many people had challenged Lu Qin had never fought with outsiders again. He usually fought with the members of the Lu family squad. This battle with the Shaolin monks had once again aroused his desire to fight. Since Lu Qin was well prepared before he came, he only wore clothes and shoes that were convenient for him to move around in. He only took off his outer clothes, and after a simple warm-up, he began the official match with Shi Yongjin. The others stood at the edge of the martial arts arena to watch, and some staff members set up cameras to record. Such a scene had to be recorded. Ha! Shi Yongjin made the first move. With a deep roar, he strode forward and punched straight at Lu Qin. What this Shaolin monk was displaying was the famous Shaolin fist. The Shaolin fist was strong and powerful, simple and unadorned. Its moves were simple but beneficial for actual combat. It was not something that ordinary routines could compare with. When Shi Yongjin moved forward, his feet rose, knees followed, and hips chased were very standard. His lower body was as stable as Mount Tai, and his punches were fierce and powerful. He deeply understood the essence of punching in a line, showing his profound foundation. When he punched, the wind from his fist howled, but he still retained some strength. Even so, Lu Qin didn't dare to meet the attack head-on. He immediately moved to dodge, and at the same time, twisted his waist and raised his right leg to kick at his opponent like lightning. Shi Yongjin's reaction was very fast. When his fist missed, he immediately crossed his arms to block Lu Qin's side kick. Bang! The collision of the leg and arm produced a dull sound. Shi Yongjin's body suddenly swayed, and a trace of surprise flashed on his dark face. The strength of Lu Qin's leg was beyond his expectation. This Shaolin monk finally became serious. He turned around and punched again, this time increasing the strength of his fist to 90%. Shi Yongjin's fists were firm and ferocious, every move he made was either attacking or defending. There were no showy moves, but every instantaneous change in his fists could achieve the three effects of blocking, defending, and attacking. His fists were upright, so every move he made gave people a soul-stirring feeling, causing people to be unable to help but break out in cold sweat for Lu Qin. If it was just a competition of strength and foundation, Lu Qin was not as good as this monk who had trained hard in the Shaolin Temple for more than 20 years. In a head-on confrontation, he would most likely lose. But Lu Chen's advantage was that he was flexible, and his reflexes were very fast. Moreover, his self-created kung fu gave him a natural advantage in close combat, so his punches and kicks were evenly matched with Shi Yongjin. Bang! 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 Both sides fought back and forth. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged more than 10 rounds. Shi Yongjin was gradually getting angry, while Lu Chen was getting more and more excited. It was hard to find an opponent. With his current status, it was impossible for him to go around and compare notes with others. At most, he would fight with the Lu family's class in the training hall. It was difficult for him to go all out and fight to his heart's content. Hey! When the fight reached its climax, Shi Yongjin channeled his true power into his arms and punched out, heavily striking towards Lu Chen's chest. Lu Chen raised his arms in front of his body, firmly blocking his attack. Bang! Bang! The sound of the collision made people tremble with fear. Stop! At this time, Mayor Lu, who was watching the fight, shouted. Shi Yongjin and Lu Chen stopped their movements at the same time. They saw the big mayor hurriedly run over and said with a bitter smile, "Fists and kicks have no eyes. Can the two of you stop when the fight is over?" Mayor Lu did not know martial arts. Just now, he was on tenterhooks. He was afraid that if they continued fighting like this, sooner or later something would happen. If something really happened, he, as the mayor, would also have to bear the blame. Although Lu Chen did not feel satisfied, he also knew Mayor Lu's scruples. Besides, he was a guest, after all, so he could not be too willful. Thus, he said with a smile, "All right, Master Yongjin has a profound skill. I won't be able to win if we continue fighting." Shi Yongjin shook his head and said in a deep voice, "You're very strong. I don't have the confidence to beat you." Whether it was martial arts or boxing, it was actually a competition of strength, speed, and reflexes. On the contrary, the moves were not that important. Shi Yongjin had the advantage in the former, and Lu Chen was stronger in the latter. Both of them did not have the confidence to win in the fight, and both of them had a feeling of appreciation for each other. Mayor Lu said with a smile, "Meeting a match is also a good story." The atmosphere of the scene suddenly became relaxed. Chapter 867. After the competition, Lu Chen and the others had a vegetarian meal in the Shaolin Temple. The vegetarian meal in the Shaolin Temple was quite famous. The chef was a national super chef, and his annual salary was millions. However, he was born in Shaolin and believed in Buddhism, so he had been working as a chef in the temple. Lu Chen and the others were full of praise for the vegetarian meal, and many details of the cooperation were finalized during the meal. For the Shaolin Temple, the Shaolin Industrial Development Company, which was jointly established by the Dengfeng city government and Qinfei media, was like a pie falling from the sky, and they welcomed it with open arms. Shi Yongda, the abbot of the Shaolin Temple, was not a pedantic person. He was very supportive of this cooperation. Therefore, except for some specific terms, the general intention of the three parties was basically settled, and there were no major obstacles. After the vegetarian meal, Shi Yongda warmly invited Lu Chen to leave a calligraphy for the Shaolin Temple. This was also the custom of the temple. When there were important guests visiting, they would ask them to leave their calligraphy to show their respect. Of course, not everyone knew calligraphy, and it was the same to sign and leave their name. The great abbot had some understanding of Lu Chen and knew that Lu Chen knew calligraphy. Otherwise, his proposal would offend people instead of joining in the fun. Lu Chen thought for a moment and agreed. When Lu Chen was a child, he learned calligraphy from his grandfather and won the first prize in the city's primary school calligraphy competition. As a representative of Binhai City, he participated in the provincial competition. It was not until he was in high school and university that he gradually abandoned it. However, his foundation was still there, and under the influence of Mo ran in the dream world, he occasionally took time to practice martial arts. He had also written about it on his blog, so many people knew that his handwriting was good. In the meditation room of the Shaolin Temple, Lu Qin picked up a brush and wrote on the rice paper, "The world's martial arts come from Shaolin." His calligraphy could not be said to be very strong, and it was certainly much worse than a real calligrapher, but it was definitely among the best in the entertainment circle. Moreover, he practiced martial arts in Shaolin, so his writing had the momentum of martial arts. These few words were written with great strength, and the brush was like a dragon swimming in the air. Good writing. Both Mayor Lu and Shi Yongda praised in unison. Both of them knew calligraphy, especially Shi Yongda, who was an expert in this field. Naturally, he could distinguish the quality of the calligraphy. As a young man in his 20s and not a professional calligrapher, Lu Chen's calligraphy was very good. The most important thing was that the 7 words, "all the martial arts in the world originate from Shaolin," raised the status of Shaolin Temple to a very high level. Lu Chen was not exaggerating. The saying "all the martial arts in the world originates from Shaolin" had existed since ancient times, but not many people knew about it. Most of those who knew about it did not agree with it. Shaolin Temple was not in a position to boast about itself. As an extremely influential celebrity, Lu Chen's praise for Shaolin Temple was stronger than any advertisement. Shi Yongda immediately decided to frame it properly and place it in the reception hall for all the guests to see. After the trip to Shaolin Temple, Lu Chen and his companions returned to the hotel. That night, the official account of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer released the video of the fight between Lu Chen and Shi Yongzhen on his blog. Lu Chen and Qinfei Media reposted the video at the same time, which immediately attracted a lot of netizens. "Awesome, my Chen. This monk is also very good. He is on par with my Chin. Not bad, not bad. Wonderful. This kung fu is simply making my blood boil. Shaolin Temple. Where is it from? Damn, haven't you read the novel of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer? In the novel, Shaolin Temple is the biggest sect in the world. Ah. There really is a Shaolin Temple? I am so ignorant. Shaolin Temple was quite famous in Dengfeng, and almost all the locals knew about it. But in the whole country, very few people knew about it. Among Lu Chen's fans, only those who had read the original novel of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer knew about Shaolin Temple. The first song of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer, Sword of Mount Hua, did not mention Shaolin Temple, so many fans did not know about it. It was reasonable for them to be surprised by the fight between Lu Chen and Shaolin Temple. But when the video of the fight spread quickly on the internet, Shaolin Temple's fame suddenly soared. Many people searched for information about Shaolin Temple through search engines and found out that Shaolin Temple had a glorious history. On October 18, Dengfeng city government held a press conference, announcing that the city government, Qinfei Media and Shaolin Temple would jointly establish Shaolin Temple Industry Development Company, Limited, to promote Shaolin Wushu culture and promote the development of Mount Song tourism. Qinfei Media invested 300 million, accounting for 40% of the shares, Shaolin Temple invested 40% of the shares, and Dengfeng city government invested 300 mu of land and woodland near Shaolin Temple, accounting for 20% of the shares. The newly established Shaolin Temple Industry Development Company, Limited would not only invest in the renovation and expansion of Shaolin Temple, but also establish Shaolin Temple Martial Arts Research Center and Shaolin Dojo. The former would study Shaolin Kung Fu, and the latter would be used to cultivate Shaolin martial arts talents. According to Lu Chen's plan, Shaolin Dojo would become the talent training base of the Lu family squad, continuously providing new blood for his wuxia IP plan. In many people's view, Qinfei Media had suffered a big loss by spending 300 million to buy 40% of Shaolin Temple's shares, because the whole Shaolin Temple might not be worth 300 million. In fact, as long as they could find a suitable place, they could build a temple bigger than Shaolin Temple with 100 or 200 million. Why would they invest so much money without controlling the shares? But in Lu Chen's view, the money spent was absolutely worth it. Once Shaolin Temple became famous, they could completely recover the cost by selling tickets, and they could even make a lot of money. Now it was not a big problem for Qinfei Media to control the shares, but when Shaolin Temple was really making money, the problem would be very sensitive. Because Shaolin Temple itself was a cultural protection unit, the country had policy restrictions. So in order to avoid future troubles, giving up the controlling shares and establishing a friendly cooperative relationship with Dengfeng city government and Shaolin Temple was the way to long-term benefits. And this money was not a one-time investment, so there was not much pressure for Qinfei Media. In addition, Qinfei Media also announced that after shooting the last 2 parts of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer, they would invest 150 million to shoot a movie under the name of Shaolin Temple, which was expected to be released during the Spring Festival of 2020. Such a series of big moves, coupled with the spontaneous promotion of the media, countless people were looking at Dengfeng and Shaolin Temple. On October 19, Shaolin Temple official V went online on Wave's blog, and the number of fans exceeded 100,000 on the same day. At the same time, the filming of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer in Mount Song was in full swing. Chapter 868. Achoo! The tickling sensation made Xia Sang sneeze involuntarily. She opened her eyes in a daze and saw 2 familiar smiling faces and a strand of hair fluttering in front of her eyes. Happy birthday, Sang! Xia Sang didn't know whether to laugh or cry at the little prank played by her classmate and best friend. You guys are so annoying. One of her best friends, Lin Fong, laughed and said, "It's your 18th birthday today. Are you going to lie in bed and sleep all day? Hurry up and get up. Let's go shopping and dress up. Don't forget that you have your first birthday party tonight." Xia Sang pouted and said, "All right." Xia Sang was a senior student at High G No. 2 Senior High School. Today was her 18th birthday. In order to celebrate her growing up, her classmates and friends urged her to hold a birthday party. Xia Sang was a quiet person and didn't really like to hold events like this. She had originally planned to buy a cake for everyone to share. That was how she had celebrated her birthdays in the past. But since everyone said so, she couldn't refuse. She had attended a friend's birthday party in the past. Even if her best friend didn't mind, others would inevitably gossip. Turning over and getting out of bed, Xia Sang looked at the poster on the bedside wall as usual. In the poster, Lu Qin was smiling at Xia Sang, making her mood instantly become as bright and beautiful as the sunshine outside. Xia Sang was a hardcore fan of Lu Qin. She had fallen in love with Lu Qin when she was in junior high. She had bought Lu Chen's albums, loved Lu Chen's folk songs, and watched all of Lu Chen's films. She was also the main member of Lu Chen's fan club in Haijin and was very active in Haijin's fan club. Xia Sang's appearance and figure were very ordinary. At best, she could only be described as youthful and pretty. But she could play the guitar and sing. In the past few years, she had sung all of Lu Chen's folk songs and made them into videos and uploaded them to the fan club and forum. They were very popular. Because of this, she made a name for herself in the fan club and was liked by many like-minded fans. This was what this 18-year-old girl was most proud of. Staring at the poster, Xia Sang said in her heart, "Brother Lu Qin, do you know that I'm 18 years old today?" In the poster, Lu Qin was still smiling. "Don't be love-struck." Lin Fong laughed and waved her hand in front of her, saying, "Even if you watch it for the rest of your life, Lu Qin won't jump out of it. Let's go to his concert next year." Lin Fong was also a fan of Lu Qin, but not as much as Xia Sang. However, the two of them had agreed to go to Lu Chen's concert next year. Xia Sang put her palms together and said, "My birthday wish is to get tickets to the concert." The news that Lu Chen would hold a national concert tour at the beginning of next year had already been announced. The first stop had been booked at the Beijing Olympic Stadium, but the tickets had not yet been pre-sold, and the price had not been announced. However, Xia Sang had thought about it. In any case, before the college entrance examination, she would go to see Lu Chen's concert. The only problem was the tickets. With Lu Chen's popularity in China, the tickets for his first solo concert would definitely be crazily snatched. With so many fans all over the country, Xia Sang really didn't have much confidence in getting tickets. Therefore, her birthday wish was absolutely sincere. "Oh, why did you say that now? You can only make a wish when the candles are lit, otherwise it won't come true. I'm not superstitious." "Why would you make a wish if you're not superstitious?" Hee. Chatting and laughing, Xia Sang and her roommates washed up and dressed up together, and then went shopping. In the afternoon, they studied by themselves in the dormitory. Next year was the college entrance examination. As high school students, Xia Sang and the others usually had a lot of homework. Although today was Saturday, they couldn't spend all their time on things other than studying. Xia Sang's goal was Jianghai University, which was Lu Chen's alma mater. However, the score of Jianghai University was not low. With her current grades, she still needed to redouble her efforts to be able to achieve her wish. Da. While she was reciting the textbook, someone knocked on the door of the dormitory. Xia Sang looked up from the book and said, "Please come in." The unlocked door was immediately pushed open and several girls came in. The leading girl was very beautiful and dressed very fashionably. There was a hint of arrogance in her eyes. "Ah," Xia Sang whispered and asked a little nervously, "Zhao Qianqian, what's the matter?" The other party was also her classmate and the prettiest girl in the class. Not only was she beautiful, but her family conditions were also very good. She crushed Xia Sang in all aspects. Xia Sang had known Zhao Qianqian for more than 10 years. They used to be neighbors, but after the Zhao family became rich, they moved away. The other two were also junior high school classmates. Zhao Qianqian said, "I came to tell you that I won't be attending your birthday party tonight." "Ah." Xia Sang was surprised. "You don't have time." Last time, Zhao Qianqian had invited her on her birthday. Although Xia Sang didn't go because she had something to do, she also invited her to her birthday party out of courtesy. At that time, Zhao Qianqian had agreed. In the end, she came over and said that she wouldn't go. Zhao Qianqian smiled and said, "I still have a party to attend. It's at Mikaya Bar. I wish you a happy birthday first. The others won't be going either. The private room at Lidi isn't big and I'm afraid it won't be able to fit. You guys have fun." After saying that, she didn't wait for Xia Sang to answer and left with a few girls. Xia Sang was stunned. Lin Fong, who was sitting next to her, was so angry that her face turned red. "Damn, that's too much." Mikaya Bar was one of the best bars in hygiene. It was naturally of a very high grade. It was difficult for ordinary people to afford it, let alone hold a party. The Ludi KTV that Xia Sang had booked for her birthday party was of a very ordinary grade. It was suitable for students like them, but the level of consumption was obviously incomparable to Mikaya Bar. It was normal for Zhao Qianqian not to attend Xia Sang's birthday party, but she first agreed and then brought people to the dormitory to refuse. Her words were full of ridicule, which was undoubtedly embarrassing Xia Sang in front of her. Xia Sang's eyes were red. She really didn't expect Zhao Qianqian to treat her like this. Speaking of which, the two of them used to have a good relationship. Another girl in the dormitory said indignantly, "It must be during the National Day party. Your program got more votes than hers, so she came to find trouble with you." "So what if you're rich?" Lin Fong hugged Xia Sang's shoulder and comforted her. It's good that such a person doesn't come. It doesn't matter if others don't come. We'll all accompany you and celebrate your birthday happily. Xia Sang nodded, a smile reappearing on his face. Chapter 869. Although something unpleasant happened, Xia Sang's 18th birthday party was still held on time in the private room booked by LDK TV. However, only half of the students she invited were present. The others who originally promised to attend were dragged to Maikaya Bar by Zhao Qianqian. Zhao Qianqian was beautiful and had a good family background. She had a strong and proud personality. At the school's National Day Gala, her piano solo program lost to Xia Sang's guitar singing in the audience. This time, she deliberately caused trouble on Xia Sang's birthday. It was obvious that she was retaliating. Several of Xia Sang's friends were of course indignant about this, but today was very important to Xia Sang, so everyone tacitly did not mention this matter again and focused on celebrating Xia Sang's birthday. Fortunately, Xia Sang also invited a few friends she met online. They all came and brought gifts for Xia Sang. Everyone was chatting and laughing, and the atmosphere in the private room was good. These netizens were members of Hai Jin Lu Chen's fan club. They got along well with Xia Sang in the QQ group, and they were all locals of Hai Jin. Everyone was about the same age, so naturally, they had a lot of common topics. Originally, Xia Sang did not intend to invite these online friends, but because the information she filled in her QQ number was real, all of her friends received a system prompt when it was close to her birthday. Everyone sent birthday wishes to Xia Sang, and several of her friends from Hai Jin even said that they would personally send her birthday gifts. As the saying goes, it is difficult to refuse such hospitality, so Xia Sang also invited them to her birthday party. Although it was called a birthday party, it was actually a karaoke party. Of course, the person everyone talked about the most was their common idol, Lu Qin. Sang, I have good news for you. A woman in a white dress said to Xia Sang with a smile, don't be too excited. Xia Sang asked curiously, what good news? Big-eyed girl in her 20s was the leader of Hai Jin Lu Chen's fan club, Yang Herong. Her real identity was a white-collar worker in a new media company, and she was also a hardcore fan of Lu Qin. Yang Herong appreciates Xia Sang very much. In the exclusive forum of the fan group, she often uses her moderator privilege to post Xia Sang's cover video to the top and forward it in major QQ groups. Hearing Xia Sang's question, Yang Herong revealed a mysterious expression, take a guess. Xia Sang didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Then how can I guess? Yang Herong laughed and said, if you can't guess it, then I won't tell you first. I'll give you a surprise later. The suspense was so great that it caused everyone to hiss. Yang Herong smiled but said nothing. As the leader of Lu Chen's fan club, Yang Herong had direct contact with the Publicity and Public Relations Department of Chunfei Media. Usually, the fan club could get support from the latter for any activities. Today was Xia Sang's 18th birthday. When Yang Herong first learned about it 2 days ago, she applied for a birthday gift from Chunfei Media. In the entertainment industry, Lu Chen's attention to his fans was well known. An application like this would basically be approved 100% of the time. In particular, Chunfei Media not only agreed to Yang Herong's application, but also said that they would personally send someone to deliver Xia Sang's birthday gift to her today. This was the surprise Yang Herong prepared for Xia Sang. Xia Sang couldn't help but roll her eyes. This sister often teased her in the group, and she was used to it. Yang Herong reached out and pinched her cheek, smiled and said, don't worry, let's say hello to everyone first. She opened the laptop she brought, connected the data cable to the phone mounted on the selfie stand, and then opened the live broadcast function of the QQ group to broadcast Xia Sang's party live. Sang, happy birthday. Wow, I saw the leader. So many beautiful women, I want to participate too. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Hurry up and light the candles. In an instant, a large number of bullet screens appeared in the live broadcast window. Those online group members rushed to send birthday wishes to Xiao Sang, as well as virtual gifts. Seeing so many warm blessings, Xiao Sang felt that her heart was about to fly. She blushed and waved to the camera, "Thank you everyone." Although there weren't many people attending the birthday party tonight, with the support and blessings of so many netizens, the haze in Xiao Sang's heart disappeared, and it was filled with sunshine and joy. Taking advantage of the good atmosphere, Lin Fong took the birthday cake and placed it on the coffee table, opened the packaging, and inserted the candles. There were 18 colorful candles in the room, and they were lit up one by one. Someone went to turn off the lights in the private room, and the candlelight shone on Xiao Sang's blushing face, adding a bit of youthful charm to this high school girl. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. Under Yang Hairong's lead, everyone sang the happy birthday song together. In addition to the people in the private room, there were also many members of the fan group who watched the live broadcast. On the computer screen, the happy birthday bullet screen filled the sky, and the atmosphere reached its peak. Xiao Sang held her chin with her hands and looked at the birthday cake in front of her with sparkling eyes. She felt that she had never had such a happy time in her life. Joy, excitement, and a little bit of tears. Accompanied by the chorus, she closed her eyes and made a wish in her heart for her 18th birthday. Then, she opened her eyes again, blew out all the candles in one breath, and won a round of applause. The lights in the private room were turned on again. A classmate smiled and handed a plastic knife to Xiao Sang. "Birthday girl, cut the cake." The live broadcast was full of "I want to eat cake" comments. Tap tap. Just as Xiao Sang took the knife and was about to cut the birthday cake, someone knocked on the door of the private room. Everyone, including Xiao Sang, couldn't help but turn to look. Yang Hairong's eyes suddenly lit up. Her intuition told her that it wasn't the KTV waiter who knocked on the door, but the biggest surprise for Xiao Sang tonight. She stood up without hesitation and rushed to the door at lightning speed. She pulled the door open in one swift motion. "May I ask if Sang is celebrating her birthday here?" Looking at the smiling man standing in front of the door, Yang Hairong couldn't believe her eyes. She never dreamed that this surprise gift would be so special, so incredible. At this moment, the private room was dead silent. Everyone was dumbfounded. Chapter 870. Is Sang celebrating her birthday here? The man who appeared at the door of the private room was in his 20s. He was tall and handsome, and there was a faint smile on his face. He gave off a warm and sunny feeling, making people feel good about him. Yang Hairong, Xiao Sang, and the other people in the room were all very familiar with this face. Lu Chen. Tonight, Xiao Sang's 18th birthday party was mainly attended by her classmates, friends, and netizens. Needless to say, the members of Lu Chen's fan club were all hardcore fans of Lu Chen. Xiao Sang's friends and classmates were also Lu Chen's fans. Although they didn't know each other before, they had a lot of common topics to talk about. However, no one had expected that Lu Chen would show up here. It was an incredible miracle. Yang Hairong was the one who knew the inside story. She was the one who contacted Chin Fei Media to give Xiao Sang a surprise, but she didn't expect the surprise to be so huge. For a moment, time in the private room seemed to freeze. Only the screen of the laptop on the coffee table was still filled with comments in the live broadcast room. Ha! Is it stuck? Why is there no sound? What happened? Why does Sang look like she saw a ghost? I'm curious too. Why isn't she cutting the cake? Hey, 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 the next moment, there was a sudden scream. Xia Sang dropped the knife and jumped up from the sofa. She rushed to Lu Qin, who was standing at the door. Then she hugged Lu Qin. If this is a dream, then let me have a good one. Lu Qin was startled. He smiled and patted the girl on the shoulder. Tonight, he had come to Hygiene to give a birthday present to a fan. His company had arranged for him to do so. He had always valued the management and care of his fans, so he did not reject it. Although the smiling, the proud wanderer was still in the middle of filming, it was not a problem to take a day or two off. He had returned to the capital from Dengfeng last night, attended an important business event in the morning, and then came to Hygiene from the capital in the afternoon. Lu Qin knew that she was a hardcore fan of Sang Sang, and had even seen her cover a few of his folk songs. Xia Sang buried her head in Lu Qin's arms and murmured, "I'm not dreaming, am I?" Lu Qin smiled and said, "I'm not dreaming. Are you Sang Sang?" At this moment, Xia Sang finally came to her senses. She blushed and let go of Lu Qin, nodding her head vigorously. Lu Qin handed the letter to Xia Sang. "Happy birthday." Xia Sang took the flowers in a daze. Lu Qin smiled and said, "Aren't you going to invite me in?" "Ah." Xia Sang seemed to wake up from a dream. She said helplessly, "Please come in, please come in." Lu Qin smiled and turned to look at Yang Herong, who was still in a state of shock. He said, "You must be Yang Herong, the leader of the Hygiene fan club. I've seen you before." Lu Qin had seen many leaders of fan clubs from all over the world at the last fan meet and greet, so he had an impression of them. Yang Herong blushed with excitement. "Hello, brother Lu Qin. I didn't expect you to come." Lu Qin walked into the private room and looked at the uncut cake on the coffee table. He smiled and said, "Looks like I'm not too late. I'm just in time to get the cake." The girls in the private room finally came back to their senses. Some of them were very excited. Some of them raised their phones to take pictures, while others took things out of their bags to ask for autographs. It was undoubtedly a lifetime memory for them to be so close to a real superstar. At Xia Sang's invitation, Lu Qin sat down on the sofa and faced the selfie camera. The Hygiene fan club's live broadcast room exploded. This was a public live broadcast room of the 7 main groups. Since Yang Herong was the host of the live broadcast, and the star of the live broadcast was Sang Sang, who was quite famous among the fan club, there were more than 3,000 to 4,000 fans celebrating Xia Sang's birthday online. These passionate fans also received a great surprise. "Holy sh*t, is this for real? No way, are my eyes playing tricks on me? Why do I see Lu Qin here? Lu Qin is attending Sang Sang's birthday party. Oh my god, I can't believe it. Holy sh*t, can someone tell me which KTV Sang Sang is at tonight? I'll take a taxi there right now." Oh my god, Lu Qin was familiar with live webcasting. Seeing this, he waved at the mobile phone camera, "Hello, everyone." Wow! The live broadcast room went crazy. It's really me, Qin. I'm not dreaming. Sang Sang is so happy. I'm celebrating my birthday too. It's tomorrow. I feel like I've hit the jackpot. Sang Sang, sing a song with Lu Qin. It must be very good. Sing, sing. While the private room and the live broadcast room were in an uproar, another party was going on in Maikaya Bar more than 10 kilometers away. Zhao Qianqian sat on the leather sofa, holding a cocktail in her hand. She looked at the crowded dance floor in front of her with a smile. The colorful lights shone on her face, giving her a devilish beauty. On both sides of her, more than a dozen people of her age were chatting and drinking. The girl sitting next to Zhao Qianqian chuckled. Qianqian, what do you think Xia Sang is like now? I saw her almost crying in the afternoon. Zhao Qianqian's smile widened. She waved her hand and pretended not to care. Don't worry about her. Let's enjoy ourselves. As long as everyone is happy. What she hated the most was others stealing her limelight. Who let Xia Sang touch her bad luck? Ah! No way! At this moment, several girls who were playing with their mobile phones suddenly screamed as if they had seen a ghost. Zhao Qianqian frowned and asked, "What's wrong?" The girls looked at each other. One of them hesitated and said, "Take a look at the grade group." Zhao Qianqian suddenly had a very bad feeling. She picked up her mobile phone and opened QQ and clicked into the grade group. Other students, out of curiosity, also used their mobile phones to log into the grade group. Then everyone was dumbfounded. In the grade group, someone was crazily sending photos and short videos. The protagonists of these photos and videos were Lu Chen and Xia Sang from grade 12, 4, class. Tonight, Lu Chen actually appeared at Xia Sang's birthday party. The two sat together intimately and cut the cake together. Seeing these photos, Zhao Qianqian felt as if she had been slapped in the face a few times. It was a burning pain. Chapter 871. For the 18-year-old Xia Sang, tonight's birthday party was undoubtedly a dream. She met her favorite and idol, Lu Chen, received a gift from Lu Chen himself, cut the birthday cake with Lu Chen, and sang a song with Lu Chen in front of thousands of netizens. There were originally 3,000 or 4,000 people watching the birthday party in the QQ group of Hygiene Lu Chen's fan club. When everyone found out that Lu Chen was there in person, the news quickly spread to all the fan groups, and a large number of fans swarmed to the party. As the heroine of tonight, Xia Sang not only received countless blessings, but also countless envy and jealousy. Not only that, she also appeared on the entertainment section of major media with Lu Chen the next day, and was called the luckiest and happiest fan. Xia Sang didn't think that such a title was the slightest exaggeration. After fulfilling the dream of a die-hard fan and leaving an interesting story, Lu Chen returned to Dengfeng to continue the filming of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer. Time flowed like water, and in the blink of an eye, it was the end of December. The filming of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer had been going on for more than a month. In this more than a month, because of the existence of the crew, it had a great impact on the local area of Dengfeng. First was the Shaolin Temple. After the official establishment of Shaolin Temple Industrial Development Company, Limited, the first batch of 100 million funds of Qinfei Media was immediately put in place, and the renovation and expansion of the Shaolin Temple was quickly put on the agenda. The Shaolin Temple was a provincial-level cultural relic protection unit, and the renovation and expansion of a cultural protection unit was not so easy. Funds alone were not enough, and it must be approved by the higher authorities. Fortunately, the support from the government of Dengfeng was great, and there was no need for state investment, and the Shaolin Temple really did need to be repaired and maintained, so the relevant approval documents were quickly implemented. After getting the approval documents, Shaolin Industrial Company immediately carried out the project bidding, and invited qualified domestic ancient construction companies to come to bid, and then the project began vigorously. The Shaolin Temple was closed for 3 months. On the one hand, it was for the renovation and expansion. On the other hand, it was to cooperate with the filming of The Smiling, Proud Martial World. Otherwise, there would be a lot of troubles in the management due to the disturbance of tourists. Today's Shaolin Temple was very different. The area of the temple had expanded by 2/3, and a new site had been opened up for the construction of the Shaolin Temple Martial Arts Research Center and Shaolin Dojo. According to the plan, the renovation and expansion project will last for 2 years, but the first phase of the project will be completed before the Spring Festival next year. During the Spring Festival, the temple will officially open to guests, so that the people of the country can see the glory of the Shaolin Temple. The current Shaolin Temple was different from the past. Its popularity was at least 10 times higher than before. The number of fans of the Shaolin Temple's official V on Waves had exceeded the 1 million mark. The crew of The Smiling, Proud Wanderer would release stills from time to time, including many scenes of the Shaolin Temple and Lu Qin in the Shaolin Temple. In addition, Lu Qin also revealed on his blog that after the filming of the Smiling, Proud Martial World trilogy, he was very likely to make a special movie for the Shaolin Temple. It was about the story of the Sui and Tang dynasties' 13 monks saving the Tang Emperor. It was through all kinds of publicity that the 1,000-year-old temple glowed with unprecedented vitality. Then, in the near future, it would become a shining symbol in Lu Chen's wuxia IP plan. And in this process, Lu Qin experienced the most important transformation in his life with the new Shaolin Temple. That was the evolution from an actor to a director. The entertainment industry was a big place. There were naturally different levels of people in the world, and directors, especially movie directors, were definitely standing at the top. When Lu Qin was still a singer and filmed his first music video, he had the idea of becoming a director in his heart. This idea became stronger when he was filming TV series such as Autumn in My Heart and Full House of Romance. By the time he made his first movie, A Chinese Ghost Story, he was already learning and preparing. To become a real director, a movie director, was not an easy task. A qualified movie director must first have professional knowledge, know how to grasp the entire artistic style of the movie, and have the skills to achieve the desired artistic effect of the movie. The director controlled the details and development process of the movie according to the movie script. He also had to guide the actors' performance, including setting the shooting positions and movements for the actors and helping them cultivate the actors' mood for the performance. In addition, the movie director had to organize and choose the film's shooting site, and manage technical aspects such as camera placement, lighting, set layout, soundtrack content, timing, and so on. In the entertainment industry, many celebrities had experience as directors. There were even some famous writers who had mixed into the industry to film their own works. However, most of these directors were just playing around. They did not need to master so many skills or manage so much work. They could just hand over the main work to the producers, assistant directors, and cameramen. They just needed to put on a name to raise their stature. What Lu Qin wanted to be was not this kind of nominal director. Even if the other road was very difficult, full of risks and thorns, he had no regrets. Since the beginning of Autumn in My Heart, he had been learning. He squeezed out time from his busy work to absorb knowledge, and worked hard in the direction he wanted. Lu Qin did not become a director to raise his status, but he hoped that through his own efforts, he could realize the dream that the other three had never realized in the dream world. To make a movie that truly belonged to him. Now Lu Qin was no longer satisfied with obtaining achievements and glory with the help of the memory in the dream world. He wanted to win the applause of everyone through his own efforts. Fortunately, Lu Qin had a foundation that was far beyond ordinary people. The first song of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer, Sword of Mount Hua, invited the famous director Chen Guizhi. Under the careful guidance of this senior master, he accumulated his skills in directing little by little. The second song of The Smiling, The Proud Wanderer, Invincible East, was Lu Chen's test work after his success. From the initial jerkiness to the gradual familiarity, from uneasiness to calmness, Lu Chen's road as a director was getting smoother and smoother. But for many of Lu Chen's fans, they were not looking forward to Lu Chen's first movie, but Lu Chen's third album that would be released on January 1, 2019. The name of this album was Lu Chen. Chapter 872. December 27, Binhai, Jingsheng District. The winter night came very early. It was already dark before 6 o'clock. The lights were on in the Liu family's dining room. Fong Yun was sitting at the table eating dinner. The dinner was very simple. A plate of stir-fried vegetables, a plate of steamed small yellow croaker, and a bowl of seaweed soup were all. Fong Yun looked lonely under the light. Of her 3 children, Liu Shi was far away in Beijing, busy all day long. Liu Chen was filming a movie, and Liu Shua was studying at Zhonghai University, so she couldn't accompany her. In fact, both Liu Shi and Liu Chen were very happy that Fong Yun could move to Beijing, because both of their careers were in Beijing, and in the foreseeable future, they would also live in Beijing. But Fong Yun didn't want to leave Binhai, because she had long been used to everything in Binhai, her work in Binhai, her relatives, her colleagues, and her friends, so sometimes she was lonely and missed her children. Fong Yun didn't feel regretful, and she wouldn't call Liu Chen and Liu Shi, because she knew that both of them were very busy. Some people advised her to find another partner, and even introduced her. They were all very good partners, but Fong Yun didn't think about it at all. What she hoped most now was that Liu Shi and Liu Chen could get married and have children as soon as possible, so that she could retire and take care of the next generation of the Liu family. Unfortunately, it seemed that this wish couldn't be realized in a short time. Thinking of this, Fong Yun couldn't help but sigh. Ding dong, at this time, the doorbell rang. Who was it? Fong Yun put down the bowl and chopsticks and went to open the door, thinking that it should be someone from the property management who was looking for her. Since Liu Chen became famous, the family moved back to Jingsheng district, and more people came to visit. There are relatives and friends, colleagues and leaders, media reporters, and some people who have nothing to do with each other. For a while, Fong Yun was quite upset. Later, after filtering visitors through the property security personnel, it finally calmed down. When the door opened, the person standing at the door was not the property management staff, but Liu Chen, who was carrying a suitcase, carrying a backpack, and wearing sunglasses. Liu Chen said with a smile, "Mom, I'm back." After that, he gave Fong Yun a big hug. Fong Yun was stunned for a moment before she came to her senses. She clenched her fist and hit him on the shoulder a few times. "You child, why didn't you tell me you were coming back?" Liu Chen let go of his hand and said with a smile, "This is a surprise for you." As he spoke, he walked into the living room, put his suitcase aside, took off his backpack, and threw it on the sofa. At the same time, Liu Chen himself was also thrown on the sofa. Looking at Liu Chen's paralyzed, lazy appearance on the sofa, Fong Yun was angry and funny at the same time. She said angrily, "It's shocking enough, but I don't know why I'm happy. Where's Fei, Compared with her own son, she preferred her future daughter-in-law. Liu Chen buried his head in the soft cushion and said, "I came back alone." She went back to the capital. This time, Liu Chen returned to Zhejiang province mainly for 2 things. The first thing was to participate in the centennial celebration of Binhai Middle School. Liu Chen was an alumnus of Binhai Middle School. He spent a good time in this national key middle school, and now he was also a golden signboard of Binhai Middle School. This school's centennial celebration, the school invited him to participate through various channels, including a call from his former class teacher. It was difficult to refuse the kindness of his teacher, so Liu Chen was bound to come back to participate in the school anniversary. The second thing was the New Year's concert of Zhejiang Satellite TV station. The trend of local satellite TV stations holding New Year's concert was brought by Shonan TV. On the evening of December 31st every year, they invited all kinds of stars to sing on the big stage. They could make a lot of money by selling tickets, not to mention the advertising fees of the live broadcast. Under the leadership of Shonan TV, all the powerful satellite TV stations followed suit. Last year, a total of 5 satellite TV stations held New Year's concert, resulting in a situation where there were not enough big singers. This year, there were as many as 7. It was almost to the point of breaking heads and bleeding. At that time, the remote control in the hands of the audience all over the country would be hot. It would be too late to change the channel. As the most popular star in the circle, Lu Chen received invitations from Beijing Television, Shonan TV, Shandong Satellite TV and Shanghai Satellite TV at the beginning of the year, hoping that he could participate in the New Year's concert of several satellite TV stations. As for the conditions, it was up to Lu Chen to set them. However, Lu Chen didn't have the ability to split himself, so he could only choose one. Among them, the fiercest competition for him was Beijing Television and Shandong Satellite TV. The advantages of these two satellite TV stations were also the greatest. Anyway, after a battle, Lu Chen agreed to the invitation of Shandong Satellite TV, and as a condition, Chen Fei stayed in Beijing to support Beijing Television, which could be regarded as taking care of both sides. It was just that in this way, the two of them couldn't spend the New Year's Eve 2019 together, and the sacrifice was quite big. But for Lu Chen, the most important thing was to go home and have a look. Over the past year, Lu Chen rarely went home, and after Lu Shuai went to college, Fang Yun was the only one left in his hometown in Binhai. Sometimes when he thought about it, he felt guilty. So taking advantage of this opportunity, Lu Chen deliberately went home a few days earlier, just to stay at home with his mother. Fang Yun closed the door and asked in surprise, "You came back alone? Didn't you bring an assistant or something?" Lu Chen replied vaguely, "No, I asked them to wait for me in Hangzhou. I will go to Hangzhou on the 31st, and accompany you at home these days." Fang Yun complained, "What do I have to accompany? You are so busy with work, spend more time with Fei." Although that was what she said, she was still very happy in her heart. She sat on the sofa and chattered. She even forgot to eat. After a few minutes, Fang Yun remembered, "Oh, you haven't had dinner yet, have you? I'll go cook a few more dishes." At this moment, Fang Yun found that Lu Chen was lying on the sofa and had fallen asleep. He had driven all the way from Mount Dengfeng. Although he had taken the highway, he had driven for thousands of kilometers by himself. When he got home, he was already very tired. Like a tired bird returning to its warm nest, Lu Chen, who was home, completely relaxed. When he fell on the sofa, he felt sleepy. Listening to his mother's nagging, he only felt happy in his heart, and then the sleepiness hit him silently, and he couldn't stop it. Looking at Lu Chen, who was sleeping like a child, Fang Yun's eyes were full of love and love. She took off Lu Chen's shoes and quietly found a blanket to cover him, so that he could sleep more comfortably and warmly. No matter where he was, this would always be Lu Chen's home. Chapter 873. As soon as Lu Chen woke up, he smelled the aroma of food. He turned over and sat up on the sofa. He rubbed his sleepy eyes and saw that his mother had just brought a dish out of the kitchen. It was steaming hot and smoking. Lu Chen asked in surprise, "Mom, what time is it now?" He slept soundly. He felt that he had slept for a long time, but the light in the living room was on. It was still night. "You're awake," Fang Yun said with a smile. "I ran to the supermarket to buy some food. I thought that you might not have eaten dinner. When you wake up, you must be very hungry. It's just the right time to wake up." Lu Chen took out his mobile phone and looked at it. It was already more than 10 o'clock in the evening. He had slept for 3 hours. He couldn't help but feel warm in his heart. "I'll take a shower first." He quickly ran into the bathroom to take a shower. When he came out after taking a shower, the dishes and chopsticks on the table were neatly arranged. The dishes in front of him had also been reheated. Lu Chen didn't hesitate. He picked up the bowl and chopsticks and ate quickly. It was still a familiar taste. Although it couldn't be said that the dishes cooked by his mother were the most delicious in the world, this kind of taste that belonged to home could never be eaten outside. For this late dinner, Lu Chen ate 3 bowls of rice and basically wiped out several dishes. Don't eat too much. Fong Yun looked distressed and asked, is the food and the crew very bad? Looking at Lu Chen's appearance, it seemed that he hadn't eaten for 3 days and 3 nights. His mother naturally cared about him. Lu Chen burped, touched his bulging belly, and said, it's not that. It's mainly because the dishes you cook are delicious. That sounds even better than a song. Fong Yun smiled and said, you only know how to make me happy. By the way, the school anniversary is on the 29th, right? In order to ensure that Lu Chen could attend the 100th anniversary of Binhai Middle School, the principal had put in a lot of effort. Not only had he asked Lu Chen's former class teacher to call him, but he had also invited Fong Yun. Fong Yun and Principal Ouyang of Binhai Middle School knew each other, so she couldn't forget their relationship. Lu Chen nodded and said, I'll attend the school anniversary on the 29th. I'll go to Hangzhou on the 30th, Mom, ask for a leave tomorrow. I'll accompany you to the mall to buy some clothes. Clothes? Fong Yun was stunned. I have a lot of clothes. You don't have to buy them. If you want to buy them, I'll go with you. Lu Chen said helplessly, just let your son be filial, or else my sister will say something. Although they used to be a rich family, since the Lu family declined, in order to pay off the huge debts owed by the family, Fong Yun was very frugal. She wore a few clothes all year round. Now, of course, she was not short of money, but Fong Yun's thrifty habit still remained. She always bought cheap clothes. Although Lu Chen and Lu Shi had told her several times, she never changed. Moreover, she resolutely refused to let the 2 children buy her famous brands, saying that they should save money and spend more on their careers. In fact, whether it was Lu Chen or Lu Shi, they were not short of money. So when he went home this time, Lu Chen decided to buy some new clothes for his mother, at least enough to fill a wardrobe. Fong Yun rolled her eyes at him. Are you afraid that your mother will lose face? Lu Chen smiled bitterly. No, Fong Yun drove him away. Go, 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 go. Go upstairs and rest. I'll clean up here. We'll talk about tomorrow's things tomorrow. Lu Chen smiled and went upstairs to rest. The next day, Fong Yun did not ask for leave because there was still a lot of work to be done. According to her, there was no need to drag the work that could be done today to tomorrow and cause trouble for others. However, she got up early and went to the market to buy a bunch of fresh ingredients. At noon, she specially came back to cook for Lu Chen. Originally, she planned to have dinner at home, but under Lu Chen's insistence, they went to Binhai Wanhao City for dinner and shopping. Wanhao City just entered Binhai last year. It was currently the largest and highest-grade comprehensive shopping mall in Binhai, with a large number of international brands gathered in the mall. Wanhao City was the most important brand of the Wanhao Group, and Wanhao Pictures, which was a direct competitor of Qin Fei Media, was a subsidiary of the Wanhao Group. Of course, Lu Chen bringing his mother to Wanhao City was definitely not seen as an act of supporting the enemy. Wanhao City was located on the east side of the most prosperous People's Square in Binhai City. It used to be a state-owned factory in Binhai City. After the land was demolished, it set a new record for commercial land in Binhai City. It also forcibly pulled up the surrounding housing prices. Speaking of which, ever since Lu Chen was admitted to university, he spent less and less time in Binhai City. He could come back during the winter and summer vacations when he was in university. After he went to Beijing to work and entered the entertainment industry, the number of times he returned to Binhai City in a year could be counted on one hand. In the past few years, the appearance of Binhai City had changed a lot. For example, many buildings around People's Square had been demolished and rebuilt. Rows of modern skyscrapers were built. The night lights of the buildings and the large billboards reflected each other, making Lu Chen feel a little unfamiliar with the city that raised him. After eating dinner at a restaurant in Wanhao City, Lu Chen brought his mother to the mall inside. He wore a set of casual clothes today. In order to avoid trouble, he also wore a pair of large sunglasses. However, his tall and straight figure and the sharp outline of his face couldn't be covered. He still looked very handsome. Noticing the strange gazes that people frequently cast at them, Fang Yun held Lu Chen's arm even tighter. Although she knew that some people must have misunderstood, she didn't care. Instead, her heart was full of pride. My son is handsome. Even if he covers his face with sunglasses, he's still handsome. Go ahead and be jealous. Fang Yun. At this time, a surprised voice suddenly came from the side. You're also shopping at the mall. Lu Chen and Fang Yun turned their heads and saw that a few steps away, a very rich middle-aged woman was looking at them with her eyes wide open. She was followed by a man in his 50s and a young woman in her 20s. It was obviously a family of 3. Fang Yun smiled and said, Sister Zhang, what a coincidence. Your family is also shopping at the mall. The middle-aged woman nodded and looked straight at Lu Chen. It is a coincidence. This is. Her eyes were a little strange. Fang Yun was a real beauty when she was young. Although she was almost 50 years old now, her charm and temperament were still very outstanding. After her husband passed away, someone in the unit tried to matchmake for her. Sister Zhang was one of them, but no matter who was the matchmaker, Fang Yun firmly refused. Now seeing Fang Yun holding a handsome man's arm and shopping at the mall, Sister Zhang suddenly felt like she had caught an adulterer in bed and discovered a new continent. The current Fang Yun was not as down and out as a few years ago. Everyone knew that she was very rich. Chapter 874. Sister Zhang, plus her husband and daughter, the eyes of the 3 people were all focused on Lu Chen. There was disdain in their eyes, and curiosity. Fang Yun smiled faintly and said proudly, This is my son, Lu Chen. Lu Chen, this is your Aunt Zhang. Lu Chen took off his sunglasses and said to Sister Zhang with a smile, Hello, Aunt Zhang. As he said that, he nodded to Sister Zhang's husband and daughter. Sister Zhang's daughter was suddenly dumbfounded. Her eyes almost popped out of their sockets, and she was directly petrified. Hello, Sister Zhang was completely dumbfounded. She didn't expect that this tall and handsome man was actually Fang Yun's son, instead of what she was imagining. She couldn't help but feel a burning pain on her face. Sister Zhang and Fang Yun's relationship in the unit was ordinary, and they didn't have much contact before. This was the first time she saw Lu Chen. Under the shame, she forgot what others had told her about what kind of person Fang Yun's son was. Lu Chen put on his sunglasses again. There were people coming and going in the shopping mall. If he was recognized by passers-by, then the plan to accompany his mother to buy clothes in the evening would be ruined. Fang Yun also didn't want to be disturbed by others to spend time with Lu Chen. She said to Sister Zhang, who was in a daze, Sister Zhang, I have something to do with little Chen. Let's talk when we have time. Sister Zhang replied subconsciously, Okay. Fang Yun smiled sweetly and left with Lu Chen. Sister Zhang was stunned for a moment until her daughter tightly grabbed her arm, and very hard. Under the pain, she woke up and turned to look at her daughter angrily. What are you doing? Sister Zhang's daughter looked at the direction in which Fang Yun and Lu Chen left. Like a cat that wanted to eat dried fish but couldn't eat it, she called out in a hoarse voice, Lu Chen, he is Lu Chen. Sister Zhang stared at her daughter. What's wrong with Lu Chen? She still couldn't remember. She just felt embarrassed just now. Sister Zhang's daughter was in despair. Oh my God, why didn't you tell me? It's Lu Chen. His words were incoherent. This small interlude did not affect Lu Chen's interest in shopping with his mother. After walking around for a while, the two of them stepped into the Dior store. Dior was one of the most famous fashion brands in France. It was also the world's largest high-end fashion brand holding company. It mainly dealt in women's clothing, men's clothing, jewelry, perfume, cosmetics, children's clothing, and other high-end consumer goods. It also enjoyed a high reputation in China. This Dior shop was very large, and the decoration style was not ordinary. The main color of black and white was Dior's style. Due to its high-end positioning, there were not many customers in the shop. Seeing Lu Chen and Fang Yun come in, a shop assistant immediately greeted them with a smile. "Welcome to Dior's Binhai flagship store. How can I help you?" The shop assistants who worked in such a big brand store usually had rich sales experience and had been specially trained. Their eyes were very sharp, and they could basically tell that those customers were just watching the fun. Those were real customers. Although their service attitude was impeccable for different customers, and they would never look down on others, the enthusiasm in their eyes was undoubtedly more sincere for the latter. In the eyes of the shop assistant, although Fang Yun's clothes were relatively ordinary, her temperament was not comparable to ordinary people. Needless to say, Lu Chen was wearing an Armani casual suit, low-key and introverted. He was a person of taste and money. Although Fang Yun had been very thrifty in the past few years, and many habits had not been changed until now, the Lu family was also considered to be a rich family in the past. Stepping into a brand store would definitely not make her nervous. Fang Yun smiled slightly reservedly and said, "Let's take a look first." The smile on the shop assistant's face became more and more warm. "Please feel free. The winter clothes in our store are all the latest in Paris. There will be spring clothes on sale next month." She followed Fang Yun step by step, but kept a polite distance. Fang Yun let go of Lu Chen's arm and said to him, "I'll choose myself. You take a rest." Of course, Lu Chen had no objection and sat down on the sofa in the store. Not long after he sat down, another shop assistant brought a cup of hot tea. "Please have some tea." "Thank you." Lu Chen took the disposable teacup, and suddenly his eyes narrowed. Xiao Lirong. The shop assistant was in her 20s, about 1.7 meters tall, with an oval face and willow eyebrows. When she smiled, there was a shallow dimple on her left cheek. She was a sweet and beautiful girl. "Ah!" The shop assistant was stunned. "You are..." In her memory, there was no such tall and handsome man wearing sunglasses. Lu Chen stood up, took off his sunglasses and said with a smile, "Old classmate, have you forgotten me?" Xiao Lirong was stunned. "You are Lu Chen." Lu Chen smiled and said, "That's me. What a coincidence today. How have you been recently?" Xiao Lirong was his high school classmate. The two of them sat in front and behind each other. Their relationship was not bad. Of course, there was no melodramatic love story. At that time, Lu Chen already had a girlfriend. Since Lu Chen was admitted to Zhanghai University, the two of them had broken off contact. They hadn't seen each other for 7 or 8 years. They didn't expect to meet each other in the Dior store today. When Lu Chen saw Xiao Lirong, it was the joy of seeing an old classmate that he hadn't seen for many years. And when Xiao Lirong recognized Lu Chen, it was more like winning a 5 million prize. The current Lu Chen was the pride of Binhai Middle School. In her class group, the topic that everyone talked about the most was Lu Chen. Who would have thought that Lu Chen would become a real big star? Although Lu Chen's QQ number was also in this class group, it had never been online. Many students contacted him, but he didn't respond. It was inferred that he had changed his number and abandoned it. She didn't expect to meet Lu Chen here. "It's really you." After being stunned for a long time, Xiao Lirong came back to her senses. She didn't know what to say. In any case, her heart was in a mess. I'm fine. When did you return to Binhai? Lu Chen smiled and said, I came back yesterday. How are the other students? Do you usually contact them? On one side, Lu Chen and Xiao Lirong were stunned. The other shop assistants were all stunned. Lu Chen, it turned out to be Lu Chen. They couldn't even believe their eyes. A real superstar had casually walked in without any bodyguards or assistants by his side, and warmly chatted with one of them about daily life. Is this real? If it weren't for the strict professional training and store rules, these shop assistants would have all gathered around to see what was going on. Nevertheless, everyone's eyes were focused on Lu Chen. So, big stars are like this, more handsome than on TV. Chapter 875. Lu Chen has long been accustomed to all kinds of gazes from around him. At this moment, his heart was more surprised to meet an old classmate. Although his relationship with Xiao Lirong was ordinary in high school, seeing her reminded him of the time when they were classmates. Lu Chen's peaceful and kind inquiry gradually calmed Xiao Lirong's shocked mood. She felt that the handsome man in front of her gradually overlapped with the big boy in the back seat in her memory. She swallowed her saliva and said, Everyone is very good. We often chat in the QQ group, but many classmates have also broken off contact. I heard that they have gone abroad, and some are working in other places. As she spoke, Xiao Lirong relaxed and said half jokingly and half seriously, but no one can compare to you, a big star. Everyone is very proud when they talk about it in the group. Sometimes I tell others that Lu Chen is my classmate, but they don't believe it. She pursed her lips and said with a smile, Now it's good. Hurry up and take a photo with me. Next time, they will envy me to death. Lu Chen couldn't help laughing. How is one enough? At least 2 photos. My previous QQ number is no longer used. You can add my new number so that it will be easier to contact in the future. He opened the QQ on his mobile phone and clicked on his ID QR code for Xiao Lirong to scan. This QQ ID was Lu Chen's private account. He only added a few relatives and friends in the circle. He didn't use it much, and his previous number had long been abandoned. Xiao Lirong was overjoyed and immediately added Lu Chen's new QQ number. Your number is really good. Lu Chen said with a smile, I have a cooperation with QQ, and the other party sent me a beautiful number. Only then did Xiao Lirong remember that Lu Chen was a big star. She couldn't help but ask, Are you coming back this time to participate in the school's centennial celebration? Lu Chen nodded, Yes. Xiao Lirong hesitated and said, This time, the old monitor also came back to participate in the school anniversary. She organized a class reunion tomorrow night in the group. Do you want to come? She knew that a star like Lu Chen must be very busy, and as a guest of the centennial celebration, he may not be free tomorrow night, so she just asked in case. Monitor is back too. Lu Chen was surprised. That's quite rare. Count me in, but I don't think I'll be playing for long. Just tell me the location. Old Monitor was the class monitor of his high school class. Because her surname was banned and she was the class monitor, plus she was very popular in the class, everyone called her Old Monitor. In fact, Old Monitor was not old at all. She was a real fair, rich and beautiful lady. After graduating from high school, she went directly to England to study at a university. That's great. Xiao Lirong beamed with joy and quickly sent the address of the gathering to Lu Chen. I'll inform everyone, no. Lu Chen stopped him and said, Don't tell me yet. I don't know if he can come. I'll contact you when the time comes. He wasn't sure if he would be free tomorrow night, so it was better to be cautious. Otherwise, if Xiao Lirong went out and he couldn't come, it wouldn't be good. Xiao Lirong understood. Okay. At this time, Fang Yun came out of the fitting room and saw Lu Chen talking and laughing with a shop assistant, so she walked over curiously. Little Chin. When Lu Chen saw his mother, he introduced her. I met an old classmate, Xiao Lirong. Do you remember her? Xiao Lirong greeted a little shyly. Hello, Auntie. Hello. Fang Yun looked at her carefully and smiled. I still remember. I've seen her a few times. Now she has grown into a beautiful girl. If you didn't say it, I really wouldn't have recognized you. Are you married? Xiao Lirong was even more embarrassed. Lu Chen helped her out. It just so happens that Xiao Lirong works in this store. Recommend some clothes for my mother. Xiao Lirong hurriedly took Fang Yun to see clothes. As a result, as soon as Lu Chen sat down, a shop assistant immediately came over and asked with a red face, Teacher Lu Chen, I am your fan. Can I have an autograph? Lu Chen saw the word store manager printed on her chest tag and smiled. No problem. With the store manager taking the lead, several other shop assistants gathered around one after another. Those who wanted an autograph and those who wanted a group photo, Lu Chen satisfied their wishes one by one. In return, he asked the shop assistants to keep quiet so that his mother could shop here. Fortunately, there were no other customers in the store. Otherwise, the Dior store would be surrounded by people. The shop assistants also knew the seriousness of the matter, so no one made a loud noise. In the end, Fang Yun bought 2 sets of clothes and a bag in the store. The store manager gave her a 10% discount. After Lu Chen swiped his card and paid the bill, he said goodbye to Xiao Lirong and left. However, as soon as the two of them left, many people came to the Dior store. Because some shop assistants were so excited that they took photos with Fang Yun on their WeChat moments, the news spread like wildfire. Everyone came to see the big star. However, they were destined to be disappointed. The next morning, Lu Chen went alone to Binhai Middle School, where he studied in the past. Considering that it was inconvenient to park near the school, he did not drive his own car. Instead, he stopped a taxi at the entrance of the neighborhood. However, as soon as he arrived at the intersection of Shuefu Middle School, he found that the entire road was under traffic control. There were traffic police guarding the intersection. Only vehicles with special passes could enter and exit. Lu Chen did not care. After paying the taxi fare, he got out of the car and walked. Anyway, it was only a few hundred meters from here to the school gate. It would not take long to walk. Walking along the paved pavement, the locust trees along the road were as tall and lush as before. Lu Chen did not know how many times he had walked here in the past. He could still vaguely remember the fragrance of the locust flowers. From afar, he could hear the warm sound of ceremonial music. It was obvious that the welcoming ceremony had begun. However, Lu Chen was not in a hurry at all because there were many memories on this road, the laughter of running, the noise of playing, the heartbeat of holding hands for the first time, the young man who met his classmate. Now that the locust flowers did not bloom, the beautiful figure was gone, but the sweet, warm, and joyful memories remained in his heart. Suddenly, Lu Chen missed Chen Feier, who was far away in Beijing. He walked for a short distance of 200 to 300 meters for a full 10 minutes until he was awakened by a passing car. In front of him was Lu Chen's alma mater, Binhai Middle School. This was a national key middle school with a history of 100 years. A tall air arch stood at the entrance. Colorful banners hung from balloons fluttered in the wind. A long red carpet was laid from the entrance to the school. A large group of people gathered at the entrance. Among them, Lu Chen saw several school leaders that he knew. They were happily welcoming the guests and returning students who participated in the school anniversary. Chapter 876. A shiny black Bentley was parked steadily at the school gate. the uniformed driver opened the rear door. A middle-aged man got out of the car and stood at the beginning of the red carpet. Mr. Zhang. A school leader in charge of reception immediately greeted him and extended his hands to the man with a smile. Welcome back to your alma mater for the centennial celebration of Binhai Middle School. The middle-aged man shook hands with him and said with a smile, "It's my honor." Several reporters rushed out from the side and pressed the shutter of the two desperately. There were also cameramen shooting. Two primary school students in the uniform of Binhai affiliated primary school came over and gave flowers to the middle-aged man. Zhang Longda was a well-known alumnus of Binhai Middle School. He was a well-known entrepreneur in Binhai and had founded a company with assets of more than 1 billion. It was reasonable for him to receive such a grand reception. Accompanied by the school leader, Zhang Longda stepped on the red carpet and walked toward the signature wall. Reporters followed and took photos along the way. Then, another Mercedes-Benz stopped. This scene made Lu Chen feel like he was holding a movie or music award ceremony. It was more or less a little weird. But in the current environment, many schools often made a big deal of the celebration in order to increase their popularity and tried their best to invite famous alumni to participate. Those who could step on the red carpet were naturally the best. Lu Chen was among them. Originally, the school offered to provide a special car, but he declined. After thinking about it, Lu Chen did not join in the fun and went straight in from the side door. He had an invitation in hand, so naturally, he was unimpeded. Because he was wearing sunglasses, the staff in charge of the inspection did not recognize him. After a simple inspection, they waved their hands and let him go. The ceremony was held in the school's auditorium, but it was still early. Lu Chen was not in a hurry to get there. Instead, he walked around the campus. He had not been back for many years, but the appearance of Binhai Middle School had not changed much. The statue of the girl in the fountain was still there, the thick sycamore tree was still engraved with words, and the path to the laboratory building was still full of leaves. Today was Sunday, and there were very few students on campus. However, in the quiet corner, students could be seen studying diligently. The familiar scene reminded Lu Chen of bits and pieces of memories. Before he knew it, he had arrived at the third teaching block. He walked up the stairs and arrived at the classroom of Class 5 on the 4th floor. The classroom door was unlatched, and Lu Chen pushed it open and walked in. The classroom was quiet, and the desks were neatly arranged. There were no students around, except for a woman who was looking at the drawings on the blackboard. She was wearing a plain white dress. Her figure was slender and graceful, and her silky black hair fell over her shoulders. She turned around when she heard the door being pushed open. Lu Chen couldn't help but be stunned. Old monitor. This beautiful woman was the class monitor of Lu Chen's high school, Ban Beibei. Although they hadn't seen each other for 7 or 8 years and she had grown up and matured a lot, Lu Chen still recognized her at a glance. Ban Beibei furrowed her beautiful brows, revealing a puzzled expression. Lu Chen took off his sunglasses and said with a smile, "It's me." Lu Chen. Ban Beibei suddenly showed a surprised smile. "Why are you here?" Lu Chen walked over and said with a smile, "I calculated with my fingers and knew that you were here, so I came to find you." "Are you touched?" Ban Beibei smiled and said, "I'm really touched. You are a big star now. I often hear your name in the UK, and I know how famous you are." Lu Chen shook his head and said, "That's all empty. How are you in the UK?" It was natural to be surprised and sentimental when they reunited after a long time. The relationship between the two was very good. Ban Beibei's father and Lu Chen's father were business friends, and she had attended the funeral of Lu Chen's father. However, after graduating from high school, Ban Beibei's family emigrated to the UK, and she also went to college in the UK. Therefore, they lost contact, but the friendship between them did not fade with the passage of time. Ban Beibei studied in the UK and got a master's degree. Now she was working in a Fortune 500 company. This time, she received an invitation from the school, so she came back from the UK to attend the school anniversary. I also want to see my old classmate. Xiao Lirong told me that she saw you last night. The two sat down to chat, and they were still sitting in the same seats, separated by an aisle. Ban Beibei's eyes were bright. Are you coming to the class reunion tonight? Lu Chen said, if I have time, I will definitely come. I also want to see Fang Jian, Zhao Linqing, Li Yuan and the others, Ban Beibei teased. I know you are a busy person now. You don't even use QQ. Lu Chen blushed with shame. I changed my QQ number. Add me. After exchanging new QQ numbers, Ban Beibei asked intentionally or unintentionally, are you still in contact with Xiao Man? Lu Chen smiled bitterly and shook his head. I haven't been in contact for a long time, Ban Beibei said as if she was talking to herself. She is doing well now. She opened her own company in the deep sea, and I heard that it is doing well. Lu Chen listened silently, but his thoughts flew back to his youth many years ago. Gu Xiaoman was Ban Beibei's desk mate, and also Lu Chen's first girlfriend. Their relationship was quite sensational at Binhai Middle School at that time. Unfortunately, like most young love, this beautiful relationship did not come to fruition. Lu Chen still remembered that when he secretly went on a date with Gu Xiaoman, he asked Ban Beibei to help cover for him. Now that he thought about it, it was really a different feeling in his heart. Lu Chen did not have the idea of going back to his old love. His heart had been filled by Qin Fei, but the memory of his first love had long been engraved in his soul, and he could not forget it for the rest of his life. Now that he heard news about Gu Xiaoman and knew that she was doing well, it was enough. Lu Chen asked, Old Monitor, do you have a boyfriend in the UK? Ban Beibei laughed, No, I don't like British boys. Why? Do you want to introduce me? Lu Chen couldn't help laughing. I really don't have anything to recommend. The two chatted and laughed, and talked about many things in the past until someone came to the classroom. Hey, you guys. The person who came was in her 50s or 60s, with gray temples and an old face. Her clothes were very simple, but when they saw her, Lu Chen and Ban Beibei stood up together and said, Teacher Kong. This was Lu Chen's former class teacher, and also the language teacher. Teacher Kong looked at the two of them in a daze, and after a moment, she suddenly showed a look of understanding. Lu Chen, Ban Beibei. Lu Chen and Ban Beibei smiled at each other and greeted together, Hello, Teacher Kong. At this moment, it was as if they had returned to the past. Chapter 877. Teacher Kong was very happy to see Lu Chen and Ban Beibei. At that time, there were 57 students in Class 5 of 98 in Binhai Middle School. Ban Beibei and Lu Chen were undoubtedly the two most outstanding students. Ban Beibei was the class monitor. Not only was she beautiful, but her academic performance was also excellent. Teacher Kong loved her as her own daughter. Ban Beibei worked hard and won honors for the class one after another. Later, she was admitted to a famous British university and studied for a master's degree. As for Lu Chen, needless to say, he was an influential figure in the school back then. Now, he has become a famous star in the country and the pride of Binhai Middle School. Now that the two of them returned to school together and appeared in the classroom where they had studied, how could Teacher Kong not be happy? Whether it was Lu Chen or Ban Beibei, they were also very respectful to Teacher Kong, especially Lu Chen. At that time, he was not a top student in school. Puppy love alone gave the teacher a headache, but Teacher Kong still gave him the greatest tolerance. Binhai Middle School was a key high school in the country. The school had a clear rule that students were not allowed to have puppy love. At that time, Lu Chen openly fell in love with Gu Xiaoman, which caused a great sensation. At that time, some school leaders said that they would give Lu Qin a demerit, but Teacher Kong protected him. In the end, Lu Qin only received a warning. Ban Beibei remembered this matter very clearly, and now she felt that it was very interesting to talk about it. Teacher Kong did not take credit. She smiled and said, "The main thing is that Lu Qin and Gu Xiaoman's love did not affect their studies, otherwise I would not agree. Now there are also students in love. I told them that as long as they can guarantee their grades and promise not to do anything to hurt each other, I will not interfere." Lu Qin gave a thumbs up and said, "Teacher Kong is wise." Teacher Kong shook her head and said, "In fact, whether in college or high school, although the relationship between a boy and a girl is very beautiful, it is difficult to have a happy ending. Only when you go into society and mature can you understand what real and responsible love is." She smiled and asked Ban Beibei, "Beibei, do you have a boyfriend now?" Ban Beibei shook her head with a red face, "Not yet, don't worry, the most important thing is to find the person you like and the person who likes you." Teacher Kong laughed. "Then Lu Qin, when are you getting married?" Everyone knew about the relationship between Lu Qin and Chen Feier. Although Teacher Kong did not care about the entertainment gossip, he knew about it very well. Lu Qin said, "If there are no accidents, it should be next year." Ah. Ban Beibei pursed her lips and smiled. This is big news. Has it really been confirmed? Lu Qin and Chen Feier had been dating for several years. They were known as the best model couple in the entertainment industry. Countless fans hoped that this beautiful relationship would blossom as soon as possible. There were even many people who wanted to force them to marry each other on their blogs. Although Ban Beibei was far away in the UK, she often visited domestic websites and blogs, so she knew a lot. If Lu Chen's words were to spread, it would definitely make the entertainment headlines. In front of the teacher and old classmates, Lu Chen had nothing to hide. He said frankly, "Basically, it has not been made public for the time being. When the time comes, I will invite you and Teacher Kong to the wedding." Ban Beibei clapped her hands. "Then I have to prepare the red envelope first." Teacher Kong looked at the two students with a smile. In fact, she was more optimistic about the couple of Lu Chen and Ban Beibei. Unfortunately, the two were not destined to be together and could only be good friends. Ring ring ring. At this time, Lu Chen's cell phone rang. He immediately picked it up, said a few words and hung up, and then said, "The celebration in the auditorium is about to begin. Teacher Kong, teacher, let's go together." Oh. Teacher Kong was annoyed. "I forgot about the business. Let's go." The three left the classroom together and rushed to the school's auditorium. When Lu Chen appeared in the auditorium, everyone's eyes were focused on him. Binhai Middle School has been educating people for 100 years and has trained batch after batch of excellent students, including government officials, well-known entrepreneurs, and literary and artistic figures. But among the young people, no one is better than Lu Chen. He is like the sun, shining. At this celebration, Lu Chen, as one of the alumni representatives of Binhai Middle School, spoke on the stage. Although it was only a short 7 minutes, it won many warm applause. In the afternoon, Lu Chen attended the Lu Chen Bursary Fund ceremony also held in Binhai Middle School. This was a fund project established by his personal donation of 50 million yuan, mainly used to encourage and help outstanding and poor students in Binhai Middle School, affiliated high school, and affiliated primary school. This fund project was established a few months ago. It was Lu Chen's return to his three alma maters, affiliated primary school, affiliated high school, and Binhai Middle School. His mother, Fang Yun, served as the chairman, managing and supervising the fund to ensure that the funds were in place. After the ceremony, Lu Chen was received by the mayor of Binhai City and the secretary of the municipal party committee, and then he was interviewed by the TV station. It was not until 8 o'clock in the evening that he hurried to the gathering place. The gathering of Class 5 of 98 was held in a local 5-star hotel in Binhai. When Lu Chen arrived, a group of high school classmates had already finished their dinner and moved to the hotel's karaoke bar. When the waiter opened the door of the big room and invited Lu Chen in, the people inside were wailing and singing. The long sofa was filled with at least 30 people. Everyone was drinking and chatting. It was very lively. At first, no one noticed, thinking that it was a waiter or a student going to the toilet. It was a girl with sharp eyes who recognized Lu Chen. Ah! She involuntarily opened her eyes wide and screamed with her top soprano voice, "Lu Chen!" Lu Chen took off his sunglasses and said with a smile, "Liao Shasha, your banshee's howl has been trained to the peak." This girl's name was Liao Shasha. She could emit a scream that could shatter the eardrum. Therefore, the boys in the class jokingly said that she had mastered the banshee's howl skill. Now, it was used by Lu Chen to tease her. The atmosphere in the room instantly froze. Several mic lords holding the microphone were speechless. Only the accompaniment music echoed. Lu Chen smiled and said, "Lao Wu, Fang Jian, Zhao Linqing, Li Yuan, Zhang Jinqin. Long time no see." The "long time no see" instantly closed the distance. The next moment, the atmosphere in the room was restored to the festive atmosphere. The male and female students all gathered around, shook hands and hugged Lu Chen, patted his shoulder and said hello. The estrangement and strangeness of not seeing each other for many years was washed away by the joy of reunion. Chapter 878. Binhai is not a big city, and its history is not very long. Its population and urban size are in the middle and lower reaches of cities of the same level, but its economy is quite developed. Especially in the last 30 years, many Binhai people have traveled across the sea to seek development in foreign countries. They are quite famous among overseas Chinese. Those Binhai people who have become rich in business have a strong sense of hometown. Many of them have come back to start businesses and companies, and use various ways to repay their hometown. Donations and good deeds are everywhere. Lu Chen's donation of 50 million yuan to his alma mater was actually following this tradition. On the other hand, it was also because he bought an island in the Maldives not long ago, which caused some criticism on the internet. Although it didn't set off any storm, donating money to education undoubtedly helped to consolidate his image. In a few years, Fang Yun will retire. She is reluctant to leave everything in Binhai and settle down in Beijing. With the title of chairman of the foundation, her retirement life will not be so lonely and boring. Fang Yun is also very supportive of this. After attending the centennial ceremony of Binhai Middle School, Lu Chen came to Hangzhou without stopping. On the evening of the 31st, he will participate in the New Year's Eve concert held by Zhidong Satellite TV at Hangzhou Huanglong Stadium. 2 years ago, Lu Chen bought a house in Hangzhou's Shizihaoyuan, so now that he is back in Hangzhou, he is not afraid of not having a place to stay. This 470 square meters penthouse mansion is empty most of the time. Before Lu Chen came, he had notified the property management company to have it cleaned. The house is large and clean, but because no one has lived in it for a long time, it looks deserted, which makes Lu Chen, who is alone, regret that he should not have bought such a big house. However, he doesn't really regret it. This house is a rare and out-of-print type. In the past 2 years, the price of houses in Hangzhou has risen sharply. He can easily sell this house for 20 million yuan, and he is sure that someone will be willing to take it over. After resting on the sofa for a while, Lu Chen took out his mobile phone and called Gao He. "Old 3, why did you think of calling me?" Gao He quickly picked up, but there was a hint of ridicule in his voice. "Did you suddenly remember that there is your own company here?" Lu Chen was speechless. To be honest, he didn't pay much attention to happy entertainment. He only gave them a few game ideas and left everything else to Boss Gao. Pretty much all of Happy Entertainment's daily operations were managed by Lu Shi's side. She sent 2 people from the finance department to be stationed in Hangzhou, and as the chairman of the company, he only spent a few days here. From a business point of view, Lu Chen was completely unqualified to be the chairman. It was too easy for him to be taken over by others. Who knew when he would suddenly go bankrupt? But Lu Chen trusts Gao He. Perhaps this kind of trust is incredible to outsiders, because in the face of money and interests, friendship is difficult to withstand the test. Lu Chen really doesn't care. Gao He has never failed to live up to his trust. Happy Entertainment is thriving, and several mobile games launched this year have made a lot of money. Cut the crap. I've just arrived in Hangzhou, and I'll be freeloading your lunch. Gao He smiled and said, "Let me treat you. Then let's go to the back street and eat." Lu Chen smacked his lips. "Okay, I'll see you at the old place." This time, Gao He was shocked. "Are you really going to the back street to eat?" Lu Chen despised. "What's the problem?" "I'm going now. You can come with your wife." Gao He said, "Xiaoling can't come now. Let's meet and talk." His voice was a little strange. Lu Chen didn't think much about it. He hung up the phone and rushed to the back street from home. The back street was not called the back street. It was a small street behind Zhanghai University. It was popular because there were many small restaurants and small hotels. Lu Chen and his roommates often ran to the back street to have a sumptuous meal. The familiar back street, the familiar scenery, the familiar smell of oil, and the familiar menu. After graduating for a few years, it seemed that nothing had changed here. Lu Chen, who returned here, couldn't help but recall his carefree college days. The old place where they agreed to meet was called Sichuan Cuisine Restaurant. The main dish was Sichuan cuisine. Boiled pork slices, pickled fish with pickled cabbage, and beef lung slices, spicy tofu, and so on. The taste was authentic, and the price was cheap and the quality was good. Lu Chen came early, so he grabbed the seat. If he came in a hurry, there would be no empty table. The owner of the restaurant was still the middle-aged uncle with a silly smile on his face. The proprietress was still the shrewd proprietress, but the waiter was replaced by a refreshing Sichuan girl. She asked Lu Chen what he wanted to order in Mandarin. The little girl was holding the order list in her hand, and her eyes were fixed on Lu Chen's face. She probably felt that Lu Chen looked ridiculous wearing a pair of big sunglasses. The customers here were mainly students, not like him. Lu Chen coughed twice and ordered 4 or 5 dishes in a row, all of which were the boss's specialties. In order to protect his throat, he rarely eats too spicy food, but it doesn't matter if he enjoys it occasionally. Otherwise, it would be too boring to worry about this and that. As soon as he finished ordering, Gao He came. Although he is the general manager of a well-known game company with a market value of more than 1 billion yuan in the industry, Gao He, who came to the back street to eat with Lu Chen today, doesn't look much different from before, except that his temperament has matured a lot. "I deliberately changed my clothes and came here," Gao He smiled and said to Lu Chen, "On the way here, I was thinking about whether you will cause trouble when you come here to experience life. I was thinking about whether I should call the police first." "Bullshit. What do you mean by experiencing life?" Lu Chen couldn't help but give him a contemptuous look, but unfortunately, it was blocked by the sunglasses. "This is called reliving, recalling the good times of the past. You won't understand even if I tell you." Gao He laughed. "The old rules, the last one to drink first." Lu Chen skillfully picked up a bottle of beer and opened it. He first poured a glass for Gao He. "You didn't drive here by yourself. By the way, what happened to Xiaoling?" Just now, he heard Gao He's voice on the phone was a little strange, and he wondered if something had happened. Gao he picked up the glass and drank it in one gulp. He smiled and said, I'm going to be a father. Xiaoling is at home. What the hell? Lu Chen was stunned. You didn't call me to tell me such a big thing. Gao he returned a contemptuous look. I'm a father, not you. What's there to say to you, unless you are willing to be the godfather of my child? Lu Chen was convinced. You are ruthless. Seriously, Gao he picked up the bottle and filled it up for himself and said, I'm going to be a father soon. When are you going to be a father? Everyone is very concerned about this problem. Lu Chen laughed. Let's not talk about this first, let's drink. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.